Next slide. So we then stop here. We then had to look at the model and get to a point where we said, let us de-risk farm crowding. And for us to de-risk farm crowding, it meant we had to remove the crowdfunding from farm crowding. Now, it wasn't easy. We took a lot of time to do this, but eventually we did. So what did we do? We created another platform we called Crowdivest. And in Crowdivest, it became the crowdfunding platform for agriculture initially. And then we left farm crowding to continue to use technology in the agriculture space. So we engaged with stakeholders. We then started accessing monies from the banks. We started accessing monies from the central bank. And so we started growing our funding, but beyond the crowd, patient capital that could stay for 5 years. We started growing our network of farmers and started making market access available for them. We also created an insurance business that allows insurance for the farmers, health, life, crop, property. So all of that became the business of farm crowding. Then Crowdivest then had the crowdfunding bit. But also, the second thing we started doing is we started engaging with SEC very early. And so we started working with the Security Exchange Commission to start designing the model for regulating crowdfunding quietly. So nobody knew. So that was coming up. Then quickly we changed Crowdivest into a digital bank, got a microfinance bank license, and stopped crowdfunding. All of a sudden, people didn't know that as at September 2019, we stopped crowdfunding and started doing investments in other sectors. So people will now save their money in Crowdivest like a bank. People will open their accounts in Crowdivest like a bank, and people will do what a regular bank would do. But people didn't know outside. And I'm saying this because you get ideas, you want to start them, all of a sudden you see so many people doing them. It's time to start building in secret. Because sometimes if you continue building open, especially in an area where it's very low barrier to entry, you will be crowded. And so we started doing that quietly, and then the pandemic came. Then all of a sudden, all the other people that were copying the model started struggling. And they started asking, why is farm crowding surviving? They didn't know farm crowding had left. They started discussing with SEC. Why is SEC this and that, SEC that and that? And then me, I'll come out and say, yeah, we're discussing with SEC. They didn't know I was discussing with SEC how to regulate their sector, but I've left the sector. We started talking about Crowdivest. Why is it they're thriving? We had become a bank. And eventually, what happened this year was in February, we then eventually exited 100% from Crowdivest. And that put farm crowding in a very cash-positive position. By Q3 this year, we should now be able to now declare some profit in the company. And it should now allow us to scale our operations to one country in East Africa we will mention later on, and another country in the Caribbean that we've already closed out on deals with. So farm crowding has now evolved, while Crowdivest also has grown. Now, while all of that was happening, I had the idea for Plenty Waka, but since this is all agriculture, you just know Plenty Waka is like your Uber for buses, gets people from bus stop to bus stop. And I'm very excited about what that business is doing. I think it's going to become a major, major talking point in the next couple of years out of Nigeria. Recently, it was reported that we will be expanding operations to other countries, and a lot of investors are paying attention there, but I'm grateful to God for that. But this was what farm crowding became. Move on to the next slide. Now, what people don't see while trying to do all of this, it all sounds good, is what I've come to tell you as entrepreneurs here. Next slide. One, I had many mistakes we made. We had many mistakes, many. People say don't raise money. People say raise money. I tell you to raise money if you can. Because in the money you can raise, you can experiment with many of the things you do in your business and then grow. We made so many mistakes. I have had several sleepless nights. But I prioritize sleep. And I'm telling every entrepreneur here, if you find your system is that you must get 7 hours of sleep for you to function, stop depriving yourself of sleep and reducing your lifespan. Sleep properly. Lagos has too many hustle and bustle for you to deal with. Sleep properly. Get to your I do 7 minimum. If I get 7 hours of sleep, I function 101% the entire day. If I get less, it affects how much my productivity goes. And running different businesses is not easy. But in the beginning, sleepless nights. So people see the awards at the top. Sleepless nights, long meeting hours. The other day, I shared my schedule with someone. He saw that the person was trying to force me into a meeting. I kept on saying, I can't make this meeting. And the person kept on forcing. Then I just did something. I took a screenshot of my Google Calendar and sent to the person. The person said, oh, wow, sorry, let's do it next month. But basically, the day the person wanted to force me into an event, I was going to start my day with meetings from 7. I was going to end my days with meetings till 11:20 in the night. But I would still find myself getting that sleep one way or the other. Losses, several losses that I've mentioned, strained relationships. Now, that's something I've come to learn in my experience, that if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to build your business, you've got to make sure your family is with you on it. And how do you do it? You're a negotiator. In fact, every entrepreneur, any CEO that doesn't know how to sell, you're wasting your time. You need to find ways of selling. One day I tell people to sell. If I'm in a meeting like this and they tell me to ask questions, I raise my hand. Well, what's your question? Hi, my name is Onyeka Akuma. I'm the CEO of Farm Crowdy. What we do is we connect small-scale farmers with investors, providing them with finance, access to funding, access to markets. So my question is, I've done that in events and I've gotten investors. So you're selling. You're always selling, right? What I do with people, thanks. What I do with people, especially family, I would talk to them. See, I'm going to devote 1 year, 2 years of my life building this business. Unfortunately, within this period, I won't be able to go to all the parties. I can't buy all the ashwebis that come. I won't be able to attend all the events you want me to attend. But I promise you something. Once I'm done in 2 years, I would start attending to these things. If you're able to negotiate with your family and you keep your word, even in the small things, they will trust you. They will give you the freedom. They will pray for you. But when you just decide to jump in, let's go. No, I'm busy. You've not talked to them. You're not allowing them see your vision. You will suffer strained relationships. In my experience, I've had it. But these days, I know how to do it better. That's why I'm sharing. Compulsory innovation, you have to always think. You have to always stay ahead of the curve. You have to always find ways to be better than your competitors. This morning, I got a message from one of my investors in Plenty Waka. He said that there's a particular competitor that is now about to go into a market that we just launched in the last 30 days. I just sent a message to all the people in my team. I said, I just screen grab the thing. See what this man said. Before I get to the office, after I'm done in Salem, I need X, Y, Z, this, to make sure that even if we have a plan, if we're going on gear 1, we're going on gear 5 now. Because speed is paramount. I don't want to be a footmat that they will remember that started the idea. I want to own the idea, run the idea, lead the idea in my domain. That is all I'm interested in. I tell people I'm competitive. I don't like taking second. There's only one person that is first. God made the world first. There was no devil that could come and make it before him. He made man and woman first. Nobody could make man and woman next. If God is a God of first, I want to join him and be first. So I position myself to be compulsorily innovative. I pay attention to the market. I am humble enough to listen to the market. I do not take for granted any feedback I get. Any feedback I get, I don't know it all. And that's how I will know it all. In the mentality of I don't know it all, I'm listening. Every time I come into sessions, if I'm in a panel, I love the question and answer period. I'm able to listen. I'm hearing feedback. I'm taking notes, and I'm tweaking. Compulsorily innovative. Long praying hours alone. The real one is when you're alone. Not when there's communal prayer, everybody's shouting, everybody wants to top their voice on top of the other. When you're alone, when you're groaning, moments of exhaustion, you get tired, loneliness. Sometimes people just say, what are you doing? Come and take a job. And 1 year to 80 no's. Now that's interesting. When Farm Crowdy raised $1 million in funding like into the business, it got all over the world. It was on TechCrunch, it was on CNN, it was on Forbes, it was all over. BBC carried it. I did a lot of interviews. What they didn't know is that to raise that $1 million, I had to, at some point, get into the US. And people say it's easy to raise money in the US. I got into the US and I pitched my business to 80 investors. 80. I got 62 no's. 62 people said it won't work. But I kept on pitching. Well, you know my joy? Every time I pitched to the next person, I got better in my pitch. I got better in my experience. So in the no's, I kept on moving. I kept on moving. And eventually, I was able to then get to a place where we could raise $1 million. How many of you would stop when you get the 30th no? How many of you will stop when you get the 50th no, if you're counting? The reason why I knew how many no's I had was because I sent emails to every single investor. So you will meet me today. You see me wearing what I'm wearing. You see me do the things I'm doing. And you want to be like me. Are you ready to take my pain and do it the way I did it? That is the pain of entrepreneurship. This is what people don't see. They only see what's at the top. Next slide. So now let's come to Agric, and which I'll wrap up on. Where is the next farm crowdy? And since there are a lot of Agric people, Agric businesses and CEOs in the room, let me give you some highlights based on what I've seen in the industry. Next slide. First things first is, next slide. First things first is, there are going to be 397 million people in Nigeria in the next 33 years. All of us will be alive by God's grace. Amen? So when we get there, our 397 million people, we then identify that Nigeria is going to be the third largest country in the world after India and China. What will 397 million people be doing? Next slide. They will need food, shelter, education, transportation, health, finance, governance, security. The first person that told me about this was a man called Fela Duruto in 2009. And he didn't talk to me. He was speaking. So when I come to a meeting like this, I don't know if you're like me. If you're hearing me, I'm only talking to you. So I was in a meeting like this, and it was me he was talking to, even if we were like 500 people. And he said, these were the things that people should pay attention to. In 2009, I took note of 3 of them: food, shelter, and transportation. Those were the ones I wanted to focus on. Everybody have their own. But these were my own: food, shelter, and transportation. And I'm grateful to God that at least I have businesses now doing things and creating value for people there. Food with Agric, food with Farm Crowdy, shelter with Rent Small Small, and then transportation with Plenty Waka. But those were my 3, and those are the 3 I'll focus on going forward. I do not have time for many others. In the many others may be opportunities for someone here. You may have come in here as an Agric business CEO, but maybe you find another one. And how do you know the one that fits you? Your complementary skill sets, your capital. Capital is not money alone. Capital is network. Capital is the people that surround you. Capital is your knowledge. Capital is your expertise in the industry. It's beyond just includes your network, includes people around you, right? So I decided that this one's needed technology. I was an expert in building technology businesses, as an expert in marketing. So I needed complementary skills for people in finance, in operations, to help me build this. And then also, your co-founder is not the one that has 20 years experience. Your co-founder is the person, your friend or somebody that you know that has similar core values with you, but you've known for at least, it can be 3 years, 5 years. My co-founders usually, it's minimum of 4, 5 years. They're not the people I meet in events like this, and then we have an idea and want to do something together, because eventually, we don't know ourselves. Even if that business becomes successful, one of us will leave. The best of co-founders are those that have complementary skills, that are as passionate as you in this industry, may not have all the years of experience to do what you want to do there, but can help you grow that business, and are ready to learn the way you're ready to learn to do something in that industry. Next slide. So let's look at food. Who will feed, because 397, you take away the current population in Nigeria, it's a difference about 270 million additional people in the next 33 years. Who will feed them? I said a tip there. Even if you choose to look away, you will either eat from them or be the one that will be feeding them. One way or the other, we're all involved. Next slide. Now, in the agricultural opportunity, just speaking of Nigeria today, there are averagely about 30 million small-scale farmers, people that have between 2 acres and 7.5 acres of farmland. I put it in perspective. 30 million is the population of Cameroon plus Togo, 2 countries. That's the opportunity you have with just the farmers in Nigeria alone. Next slide. So I'm going to hit some bullets. In the 30 million farmers, they need education, they need finance, they need markets. You don't have to be a farmer carrying hoe and cutlass to be involved. I had first class in software engineering, but I'm doing stuff in the agriculture space. I'm doing stuff with Danfo drivers when it comes to plenty worker. I'm helping people to live better in homes when it comes to rent small. You don't have to be an expert in agriculture to get involved. You can find a space. I have a friend of mine, he was busy doing drones, providing drone reports about traffic in Lagos. And then money wasn't coming to the table. He then decided to change it, carry the drones to the farms to start spraying fertilizer. And the federal government started engaging him and paying him. Now he will tell you that he's involved in the agriculture space. But he was busy building drones for traffic before. In the value chain, you have your own space. And what if you're like me? When my mom told me, she said, I need 4 streams of income. I was 12 when she was telling me that. I didn't understand what she meant then. She said, my 9-to-5 job is just 1. I need 3 more if I want to be wealthy. And wealth is not just about money. Live well and healthy. So if you listen to me here, then God made you listen to me. And if I'm with the mic, he's making me say what I'm saying. You can get involved in the space without necessarily carrying hoe and cutlass and cutting in the farm. Next slide. 50% of agricultural produce, like what happened to us with our first project, gets wasted before it gets to the market. In that alone, you need shelter. You need where to store things. You need education to tell people how to do it better. You need transportation service. See, it surprised me that when I got into Ibadan, everybody in Ibadan wants to produce birds. Or to a great extent, you have a lot of poultry farmers. And it shocked me that when we're trying to move those birds from that lady's farm to Lagos, we couldn't find one cooling van. If we're done slaughtering the birds and then putting them in the van to chill them, to move them from Lagos. But everybody is busy producing birds. Everybody wants to get involved in feed. Who is moving the birds? No one. I couldn't find one. If I move birds one way, I move tomato the next. I move birds one way. If I move birds from maybe Lagos to Ibadan to Lagos, I move maybe feeds from Lagos back to Ibadan. And I'm in business. So transportation, markets. In markets, we built something in FarmCrowd called FarmGate Africa, where average farmers can now log in. Anyone can log in. We have the likes of flour mills. We have the likes of Unilever. So they come in and say they want to buy cassava. They come in and say they want to buy corn. We've had people that we supplied ginger, organic ginger in the UAE. We've had people who supplied cashew in London. They will sign up on the platform and say, we want 2,000 metric tons. Then all the farmers we have in our network will identify and say, okay, I have this, I have that. And then we just use our aggregation centers scattered across in all 36 states at the moment. And then mop up and then sell. Market access. Next slide. So the agriculture value chain, where can I plug in? I'll just run through that value chain quickly. Next slide. One is in pre-production. Next slide, please. In pre-production, you can be involved in inputs, from seeds to fertilizer. I know a company today that is listed on the stock exchange just because they are involved in producing fertilizer. You can do tractors. I have a friend who has an Uber for tractors today. You can do facilities. You can provide where those seeds will be staying. Services. You can be farmers and land data management. It will interest you that when we started FarmCrowd, we struggled to get the data for farmers. We had to start building our own data ourselves. Farmers training and education, the likes of IIT have done a brilliant job. Brilliant job. And I give serious kudos to Evelyn and what she's doing with the youths there. It's fantastic. They have things that they are even getting youth corpers to become better agripreneurs by coming into the system and getting the kind of training that will help them become sustainable people that are providing value. Insurance. Next slide. And in the production stage, there's farm services that range from farm management, extension service, farm security. That's core farming work. And then at the time you're done in harvest, the labor to provide the labor. I know a company that is involved in just helping people to get the farmers to manage their farms. That's all they do. That company today is worth about $5 million. They just help you. If you want farmers, you tell them, they'll get the farmers to your farm. Logistics, harvesting, and then education. Next slide, please. And then in post-production, next slide, please. In post-production, storage, where will you keep, after we're done harvesting? There's a company today that has raised over $15 million in the last 5 years of their existence. And all they do is to store when the farmers are done. So they don't want to get involved in the risk. They get warehouses and they help with storing those commodities. Logistics, transportation is involved there, marketing and direct sales. Then food and product preservation, packaging, industrial processing, export. These are the different things you can do across the value chain. You don't have to be a farmer with a hoe and cutlass. Next slide. So, as I wrap up, my personal note to every entrepreneur in the house, and this is whether you're in the agribusiness sector or whether you're doing something else. This is just my own personal, and these things have guided me through my process. Next slide. One is read good books. I can't overemphasize this. Read good books. I said I'm using the word good because there are books that will confuse you if you go and read them. And also, it's not every book you should read at your stage in your business. There are books that are meant for each stage. Recently, I told a friend of mine, there's a book I've read that focuses on marketing. When I was done reading that book, I told him, I keep telling entrepreneurs, I won't advise any person starting their business to read that book. Because if you read it, it's called blitzscaling. If you read it, it blows your mind about what you can do with marketing. But if you're just starting, you'll kill your business before it starts. So it's important in another stage of the business. So read the book that is relevant to your time. Everybody have their own season and time. In my own time, when I was trying to restructure Farm Crowdy, I had to get a particular book to read to help me in the restructuring process. Build a team around you, useful networking. It starts from church, it starts from where you have common values, it starts from where you have common passion, where you have common goals. Always observe for opportunities. Always observe for opportunities. Now that one is where you get ideas from. Plenty Waka was born because I came back from Qatar and I had to land in Lagos by 8:15 on the 18th of January 2019. And I had a meeting with the board of flour mills by 10 that morning. So I was in the airport by 8 and I had a meeting at flour mills by 10 in Apapa. I took 2 bikes. Thank God that time they hadn't banned bikes. I had to give somebody my bags to take to the office. Our office was at O'Neill then. 2 bikes to the meeting. When I was done with the meeting, my other co-founders came with boat from CMS. So they said, let's go back with boat. Let's not do Uber. So when I got on the boat, I then tweeted that today I've been able to fly, use bikes, use boats. The life of an entrepreneur in Lagos. I didn't know the shocker was coming after that. When we got to CMS, they said, let's take a bus. I said, everybody just stop here. I've not taken it. I said, instead of me taking bus, I'll take bike. I had not entered a bus in and it shocked me, in all humility. I hadn't entered a bus in I think before that, maybe 15 years. I think as soon as I got my first car, I stopped renting bus. If my car is bad, I'd rather take bike than get on a bus. It's like maybe rain is falling, I don't have a choice, I get on the bus. So they said, let's take the bus. So eventually, we then paid for all the seats. You know this buses that can carry 18 people, the white and green one from CMS to Aja. We then paid for all the seats and we entered. I sat in front, they sat behind. They were laughing. I was holding the door because the door was about to fall off, right? And I couldn't imagine I was sweating. All of a sudden, it dawned on me that I was scared of a typical Lagos bus. I could see all the metals sticking out. All I was thinking about is anti-tetanus injection, anti-tetanus injection. I could see the sweat coming out from the guy's face that was driving. I could smell everything. My nose, so everything just went up. I could smell everything. I could see everybody on the road. And so my co-founders at the back were laughing. They were taking pictures. When I got to the office, I called my first co-founder in Plenty Waka because I couldn't imagine why I want to go to work in the morning. I put on a white shirt and a red tie, and this is the only way. If I cannot afford Uber and I can't afford to get on a bike, this is the only way I will go to work in the morning. So I called him. I said, can we find ways to put better buses on the road? I couldn't imagine even bringing out a laptop. You say you want to work. Imagine you're inside regular Danfo, you bring out a laptop. It's the conductor that offers kilo share. What's wrong with this one? And maybe God help you if that laptop leaves your hand. Gets down with you when you're out of that bus. So I called him. I said, let's do something about it. And we started working on it. 1 week later, I called it Plenty Waka, Waka being movement, because that Waka will go beyond buses later on. And we were able to then crowdfund to raise money to buy the first 20 buses, brand new. Then we gave them to the drivers on hire purchase model so that the asset doesn't stay with us. We started moving here, and we're doing 6 passengers a day, 20 brand new buses, because people thought it was staff bus. Eventually, it grew. We got to 500 passengers, we got to 1,000, we got to 1,500. 6 months into it, we had moved 100,000 people. As at now, we've now moved about 320,000 people in 18 months in Plenty Waka. And it's going to grow and grow and grow. That's an opportunity that came from one. I was humble enough to make sure I got into that bus. I was observant enough to see what every other person is seeing, but see it differently. And I was too disgusted with joining the status quo of saying, let it go the way everybody is going. Today, God will lead you into places that He's opening your eyes to see opportunities. It will take humility, hunger, passion, an observant eye to discover the next opportunity. Know when to stop. Know when to stop. I've talked about being your chief sales officer. My time is up, right? And then you don't have a unique IP or you don't have a unique idea. Every time I meet people, they say, I don't want to talk about my idea because I don't know who will hear it now and steal it. If they can steal your idea easily, it's not an idea you should be investing your time in. If I can hear your idea and I take it and I steal it easily, then why are you investing so much? Is that what God made you to come here and do? You need to do something that you tell 10 people, they hear it, they think you're crazy. 1. 2, you know that you have all the resources to effect it and put it in motion. 3, stop talking about it and do something about it. Because too many people, we talk a lot in this country. We know how to talk. I know how many people told me when I started Farm Crowdy, I had this idea. Hey, I even wrote it down. Are you serious? Before you were born. Wow. And then what happened? Hey, it's on the paper. I know somebody that said he spent 2 million naira developing a business plan to launch his idea. He launched the idea, 2 million naira. 1 month later, the idea was dead. I said, why didn't you pay yourself the salary? Why did you spend all that money building a business plan? I know people that talk. I'll come into an event like this and say, that's my idea, I'm going to execute it. Then all of a sudden, you come in here next week Sunday, after all the excitement, you come in here next week Sunday, you maybe remember 50% of what we've said today. You come in here after 1 week, you remember maybe like 20% of what we said, and then it shifts off you. Then 2 months down the line, you hear somebody has started that. These guys stole my, wait, was he in that event? Every time you have an idea, 20 other people have it. The person that really owns it is the one that starts something. And then the only way to really make something out of it is that you find an idea that has impact, that has value, that has thousands of people that will benefit from it. This morning I told someone, I said, man, I'm out of cash. But if I want cash tomorrow, I know where I will get it from. Now, I'm in a position where I don't have all the money around me. I don't even have it. I'm not yet at that level. But I'm building structures that will get me there. Right? It's all a journey. It's all a process. Appreciate every stage, but talk less. We talk too much. Talk less. Do more. Thank you very much for having me.
I'm sure you can do better than that. I'm sure you can do better than that. It's important that, when I said you should put your hands together for him, I recently just joined the entrepreneurial community, at least the tech part. And one of the things I know is that it is not fashionable to talk about your struggles. It is not fashionable. It is not, you will never hear entrepreneurs talk about their struggles, because generally, the more superhuman you are, the better for your enterprise. The more invincible you are, the better for your enterprise. Because you're always selling. So for him to have done this, he really came to a very vulnerable place. Please put your hand together for him. All right, so we still have quite a few people on our list. I have a very long list of people to acknowledge. Please put your hands together for Reverend Okechukwu Okoroji. Is he with us? Okay, just keep moving. Reverend Julius Adeyeye. Good morning, sir. God bless you. Reverend Paul Audu. Reverend Austin Oriaku. We also have Reverend Alex Divine. Good morning, sir. Reverend and Mrs. Maha. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, so we'll call the, before, we still have a few people we have to acknowledge, but we're really behind time, so I want us to move to the next speaker. The next speaker is the founder and chief executive officer of Saltree International Company Limited. In 2007, she won an award for the best orally presented presentation of the Global Cassava Partnership Conference held in Genk, Belgium, organized by the Food and Agriculture Organization, Gates Foundation, and IITA. She's a born entrepreneur, and she's the first female cassava starch industrialist in Nigeria and West Africa. She runs an inclusive business model where smallholder farmers are the center of the business. She's a philanthropist with a large heart for helping the poor and downtrodden. I'm talking about the founder, chief executive officer of Saltree International Company Limited, Oluyemisi Iroloye. Please put your hands together for her as she comes.
Good morning. All protocols observed. I feel highly honored to be here. I follow our Papa, the Reverend and the Bishop, sometimes on YouTube, some of your messages. I'm happy to be here. I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian business person. So it's good to be talking about business in church. I think We should do this more often, show that Christians can do business even in this very difficult system and create impact. So I was very glad that my brother is a Christian, and I'm happy to meet you, really. I hope we'll connect more after this. Can I have my slide? Okay, I was given the same topic, and I will just try and be very fast, because looking at the number of minutes given to my other colleagues, Salem International is actually a 100% Nigerian company today, and the concept came from God himself. The name Salem came from the Bible and the book of Psalm 150, verse 3. You can see it in about 3-4 places in the Bible. It actually came as a result of my quests, asking God, what do I do? And then he took me to that passage and said, that is where you will be. And when you see our logo, our initial logo used to be a guitar. And people always ask, why do you have a guitar there? And I said, because he told me that the journey is going to be tough, but you should sing always. And so, but then as we evolved, just this January, we changed our logo. But then all I wanted was, okay, he said I should sing, and so I had the guitar there, but we thank God. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. I'll just run through agribusiness, agriculture. I think people need to know the kind of opportunities they're in, okay, yes, I can see it here. The kind of opportunities they're in the agri space, and know the kind of businesses that they can do in the agri space. Some of it have been mentioned, but I will try to do a bit more justice to it, so that you can be able to find your purpose and see what you can do out of agriculture. Agribusiness is actually I would say in a layman term, is the business of agriculture. And so you look at, it's a sector that supports the growth of an agricultural industry and improve agricultural productivity and enhance economic growth. Is actually the business around agriculture. And agricultural activities contribute majorly to improving the system of food security. And of course, I will break agriculture into various, as many segments that as possible that I can break it. Let's go into the next slide. Agriculture, you can have the animal husbandry, where you do your poultry, your piggery, your snairy. You can have the crop, where you do your cassava, your rice, your melon, your cucumber, that's the growing. You can do input, where you have those who actually supply the fertilizer, the herbicide, the drugs for the animals, the feed for the animals. You can go into the processing, where you transform the cassava into starch, the paddy rice into polished rice, the poultry chicken into cleaned poultry or smoked poultry products you see in supermarket, the snail into processing it, or the cotton from the farm into the clothes that you wear. That is the production aspect of it. You can have the consultancy part of it is agriculture. If you have somebody who's writing your business plan in agriculture, it is agriculture. You can have the person who does the marketing. He does not know how to farm, but he can just come to the village and buy the chicken and then takes it to the town to go and sell. So it is really wide. If you take your time to go through my slide, you will see the number of opportunities that there are in the agricultural space. And of course, the various, in this particular slide, I try to talk about the various advantages. If can it be slightly brighter? My eyes are very good. So in this slide, I was trying to itemize all the various the things that agriculture would produce for us. That it's providing, of course, adequate food supply of raw material constitutes a major source of foreign exchange earning, and of course, source of employment. Now, without agriculture in an economy, let's go to the next slide. Without agriculture in an economy, that economy is going to collapse. This was what I was trying to talk about before the slide moved. If you study this properly, you will see all the various aspects, the kind of businesses you can do around agriculture. And of course, agribusiness is what makes this agriculture to turn into the various businesses. If you look at this, if you put your cursor on it, some of them I put some link there, that you can use those links to go deeper to understand the various silent things you can do, even in your yard, and turn to money, and it is within the agricultural space. Let's go to the lights. I'm rushing because I've not reached the real point where I need to stop. The next slide, please. Now, in Nigeria, we are now coming back home now. In Nigeria, we have over 39.6 million hectares of farmland. About 6,000 is available for agriculture, is cultivatable, by what we have in the documents. But I know that in the real sense, we don't have up to that number of percentage that is under cultivation. But of course, the book says about 60% is available, is used for farming. But I know that figure, because I'm in the space, I know that figure is not very correct. But okay, we have about 60%. And of course, Nigeria is the largest producer of so many crops. Cassava is there, cashew is there, mangoes and fruits are there, grains, some grains are there. And of course, our population in this country, we know it, it's also is very large. And Nigeria plays, of course, a major role agriculture plays a major role in the economic development of Nigeria. Please, can we go on? I have so many slides. Okay, now the next slide I know is the world population. The world population today is well above 10 billion, and by record, by 2050, we should be, the world population as at 1990 is about 5.3 billion. By 2050, will be about 9.8 billion. And yet, the rate at which we are producing food is not fast enough to be able to catch up this kind of tremendous growth in population. And so there's a need to change our ways of agriculture. If we continue the way we are producing food today, then we will be hungry in the next 20 years. The world will not be able to feed itself. And that is why innovation in agriculture is very, very important. Like what you have IITA do. A lot of innovation have come into agriculture now to help us to be able to achieve better yield, better figures, and make it more economically viable and very attractive to the youth. Now, in my next slides, I'll be talking about, I don't want to talk about this. Can we go to the next slide? I want to link it to innovation. Okay, in one of my next slides, I think it's the next, that's exactly the slide I want. The one before this. Okay, good. Innovation, of course, means that today we have various types of innovative ways of agriculture. We have soilless agriculture, where you actually plant in the air. You have SAH agriculture, where you plant in the lab or on trays. We have form of agriculture you plant in the water. All of these are innovative agriculture where you need just small space to be able to get higher yield. These are the kind of tremendous innovations that the young people can go into and be able to still do agriculture, even though you are working or, you want a funky kind of agriculture. These are the kind of things that we can do. Why we must have innovation is because we have rising costs of input, shortage of raw labor. There's no more labor. Nobody wants to go and be weeding on the farm. You need soil fertility. The soils are getting low, and so you need innovation to be able to grow very fast. We have changes in customer preference. Now you see some tomatoes in ShopRite that are very big. Some of those tomatoes are grown in the greenhouse, it's not in the field anymore. So innovations are coming up, and we must have innovations if we have to be able to feed the world in the next 20 years. The next slide, please. benefit of innovation, like I said, is that it lowers your cost. You don't need a lot of land space. You can have precision. You can determine your yield from beginning, and you can determine your profitability from beginning. This is where the world is going now, and that's why the young people are encouraged to look at innovative ways to do agriculture other than the former ways in which our forefathers have been doing it. Let's go to the next slides. I tried to put a picture, whatever some of the things that are going on right now. My brother talked about spraying with drones. Yes, that is happening right now. Even in Nigeria, some farms are already being sprayed with herbicides with drones. We have soilless, you have soilless, you have water, hydroponic. You have remote sensing. I mean, remote, you have drones, you have digital field monitoring where you sit in your office and you can actually monitor what is happening on your field. Like we use some apps that we call, that we use in monitoring those fields. Some apps right now even tell you your yield. You just snap it, put down all the formulas, and it tells you the kind of yield that you are going to get here in Nigeria. Don't think you have to get to the US to see them. They are happening in some farms in Nigeria already today. Let's go to the next slides. Okay. Now, I'll now go into the Sotri, using Sotri as a case study, because sometimes when we talk about this, they look so far away, and you're like, are you sure it's happening in Nigeria? I'm really sure these things are real. If I go to Ghana, yes. In Nigeria, I don't think so. No, it's happening in Nigeria. We are not doing too badly in Nigeria. We can do more, but I think we just need to focus on some key people who have made success and use them as encouragement for young people to learn and for people to know that these things are happening. In 2005, I was still in paid employment. I was in Eka Agro, working with cassava really, with IITA. My sister, I'm surprised you don't know me. You should know Sultry. Sultry is, exactly. Sultry is one of your strong partners in IITA. We've been working with IITA for some time. I'm even on the board of IITA BIP. In 2005, I was a young girl. I was 35. I was 50 in November. And I wanted to do my own thing. I've always wanted to be that person that provides for people. I had this kind of heart that I want to give to humanity. So even though I was working there, I was not fulfilled. I kept saying, Father, if I turn 40, I want to do my thing. And I didn't inherit any money from my parents. And then, now you guys are lucky. You have people to hold on to. There was nobody to go and meet to say, I have this idea, how do I do it? Technology wasn't even this advanced in 15 years ago. Wasn't this advanced, IT wasn't this advanced. It's just the bits and pieces you can get from everywhere. And he gave me that name. He said the name will be Sultry. So I wrote it. I had this board, and as I'm saying my story, please pick your points. I'll be taking you through the journey of how to start, because my second topic was, how do you start from the scratch? So I'm going to tell you how I started from the scratch, and you pick the major points of how I started from the scratch. I can tell you if you go and do it that way, I'm sure of 80-90% success, except maybe because I'm not God, I can't say 100, but I'm sure a great number of people will have success. So I started with prayer. If you are a Christian and you want to start a new venture, go to God. He will drop something in your mind. He will tell you something. He's a good God. He may not tell you everything, but he will drop you information as you need it per time. And I knew at 40 I wanted to live and do my thing, and I knew I had to plan for it. So I had 5 years to plan. Is 5 years to plan. What was I doing that 5 years? I had a sheet by my bedside. I got the name, and I gave it to then my husband, the name, and I said, incorporate this name for me. So what kind of name is this? When people are forming name those days, you put the name of your father, your mother, your child, first name, second child, first letter, husband, and use it to form a word. You remember, that is how names were formed. So you just come to the and say, you want Sultry, say Sultry. Where's that going to happen? Where is that? Where did you get that? I said, from the Bible. Okay, we'll form it. And then the company came to bear, and I took the certificate. I put it in my box. I had no money. I was still working. So I started saving for mine. I wrote down, what are the things I must have if I must have my own factory? By the way, I'm a biochemist. So I read biochemistry. So I knew I wanted to do something that has to do with food. I knew I wanted to do something that was going to impact life. So that means I have to do agriculture, convert it to food. That was all that I knew. The details I didn't know, but I knew God, if you give me a business, I want to bless lives. And that's why Outgrower Scheme, it wasn't very popular there. We were like one of the major companies that started the Outgrower Scheme thing in this space, especially for cassava. And I started by putting my little money. When they sent me for conferences, I picked my small money and go and dump in the land where we are today. When God took us there, he said, you pay for this land. And it's a very small amount of money, less than 5 million naira. But I used 3 years to pay it. 3 years. They were allowing me to be bringing it in bits and pieces. I was bringing it, and I would go there weekend and go and farm yam, I would farm maize, I was learning to do agriculture by myself, to learn it. So I became a farmer. I could say that, yes, I know the crop I wanted to deal with very well. And exactly when it was time, the Holy Spirit told me, it's time. You have to go now. So I resigned. Gave my boss 6 months, and I left, and then went back to this village where the factory is today. And then when I got there, we started off. Because I said I wanted to work with the farmers, I started off by working with 20 farmers, 20. And those farmers, some of them are dead now. That's in 2012, 11. Some of them are dead now. Some of them are still alive. Some of them have transferred their farm ownership to their sons because they were old men. Then the young people won't even touch because we were still doing partly mechanized, partly manual. We bought some tractors. And then how do I get funding? All I have is just the land and one tractor and one small farmhouse I was able to do in 5 years. And then we started pressurizing the bank. I wrote my business plan. When you want to do your business, please, after you pick your location, the reason why I picked this place was because, one, it was closer to my raw material. I knew that finished goods I could move because the finished goods have 1 year lifespan. But my raw material is a 24 hours lifespan. So I must be close to raw material because I can use 1 week to transport my crews. What will happen if a truck break down? You go back and pick your truck. So you must look at your location. Whatever you want to do, the location must be realistic to the agriculture you have picked. Remember, I ran through the different type of agriculture. Whichever one you pick, your location must be favorable to that particular one that you picked. 2 was that I already knew how I was going to get my raw material. I felt this was the model I wanted to do. 2 things. Because I wanted to give back. 2, I need raw material. I could decide to farm everything at that time because that was what was in thing. The in thing then was for people to farm and just buy 10. You just hear so and so company has bought 10,000 hectares in Niger State or in Kaduna State. And they'll just go and farm by themselves. But I felt, no, I'd rather buy just little. And I spoke with the village. I said, don't sell your land again. When I come, you will farm around me and be bringing it. They were like, other people with Agbada have come. They will buy land here and go. 5 years, we will not see them again. Let's be collecting money from her. She will not come back. But today, I thank God that they are thanking God that they gave me that little piece of land because today we have created wealth around them. I wrote my business plan. Please write your own business. You can give it to someone to polish for you. You are the owner of the idea. So you are the one that can sit down and say, this is how I saw it. This is what I think. You could give somebody to help you polish English. Because, okay, we all do. Yeah, somebody can help you put color, the packaging, but the content must be yours. Now, because the content was mine, and I wrote it originally the way I felt. When you read my business plan, you can feel me. You really can almost jump into the pages because I describe my business plan What we are seeing today was exactly what I wrote to First Bank 13 years ago. Was exactly what I wrote to them. And I wrote, and they will refuse, and I will send it, and they say one man business. They say it is green. You know, there are different languages they use then. They will say it is green business, green field. It is one man. Oh, she's even a young girl. She's going to run away from that. They said she relocated. Don't worry. She will not survive there long. After I kept pressing and pressing, one day, they sent a lady from First Bank. She was a AGM. And then she came. They said she will be coming. That she's the final. If she says yes, you get the money. If she says no, you start your journey again. And then she came and she said, what? You have this? I am not going to give you this money because you have collateral. I'm investing in you. And it touched me. And she said, don't disappoint me. Oh. I'm going to be recommending you for this loan because I believe you've given so much up to get to where you are. Then we had farms, beautiful farm, a small farmhouse. And I had about 6 of my staff, all of us running around the bush, just doing something, Sha. They shall know they are following me. They don't know where it's going to end. And 24 hours later, we got the offer letter. And that was the first breakthrough. That was the first breakthrough of the business. Very strange at that time for a bank like First Bank to give a green, one-man, female-owned business that kind of money. We actually assessed it from even not just First Bank, from CBN Direct Fund for Agriculture. And it was just God. It was God saying, I sent you. I will go with you. The road might be tough, but I will be with you. It was tough road. Like my brother said, tough road. Some nights I wake up and I'm crying and I'm like, God, where am I going to go? Sometimes I can't pay salaries. We run a canteen in the factory where everybody feed free once a day. And at some point, to feed the staff become threatened. At some point, my managers will come and say, let's stop running the canteen. Let staff be paying. And the Holy Spirit will say, don't. I said, give them food free. And by the grace of God, 2012, we built our first factory. And if you take my slide, can we take my slide? You see, we built the first starch factory in Alaide village, where there was no light, no water, no road, dungeon. And then God sprang up that surprise in that place. And that was how Sotri actually came to birth. By 2015, we've had so much growth that we needed to expand in 2 years. We needed to expand, and we built the second line in 2015. I need my slides back. And in 2015, okay, well, she just went to the first right one. But can you go backward? That was the first plant. Go again. Let's run through. Go again. Let's start. Okay, no, just go. Okay, that's where the story in the beginning starts. Maybe let's see the slide before this. Okay, just start. Let's just wait here. This was the village that gave us land. Now, to get to this village, no road. This was exactly pictured in the beginning. That is me there. If you expand the screen, you will see that's me there with the village chief. You know, I was living in, on my land is, the village is adjacent to my land. We actually share common environment. So they are like the people we can talk to when we need to talk. They are the friends of the house. So this evening, I just went there to play and discuss with the villagers, feel among them, feel like them, be like them. And that was the beginning. We saw that the people had elephantiasis, and my heart was moved. And I said, okay, before we do anything here, we have to do water. If you go to the next slide, you will see the first borehole we did. This was the very first. That little girl, that was the first borehole we did in 2012. Even before we made 1 naira from that community, we provided road from the main road to this village so that they can bring out their products. And then we gave them water. That was the first borehole. This was the second borehole that we dug. Alongside, as we were encouraging them to farm for us, we were providing them with livelihood. And so they were embracing us more, because the only water they had was a stream that goes off in the dry season. So they would dig the water, and so that the water will remain in the dry season. Then the cows will come and drink it around 4 a.m. before the women in the village go there around 6. And so that's why they have a lot of them with kwashiorkor, elephantiasis, bad eyesight. And that was where we drafted out our CSR to say, okay, every year, a percentage of what we make will be used to continue to develop the community stage by stage. So go to the next slide. And that's what informed our CSR. In one of the years, we did electricity. That village you saw is the new village today, with brick houses and with power, and they also have water. That is the village that gave us life. That is the village that bettered the vision that we had. They have 24 hours power today, and they have water. They now send their children to private schools because they earn so much. Today, this village alone, even though we now work with so many villages, take about 30% of our total outflow for cassava. So in this village, they earn about 300 million from just selling cassava to us alone, this village alone. Then because of that, in one of the years we did program we gave 500 farmers, that's when I say farmers, those are people in the village that are in our network, 500 farmers eye test, 300 of them got drugs, 100 of them they got glasses, and about 25 of them did cataract operation, and they got their sight back. We did this in collaboration with Atupa Eye Clinic Catholic Mission. The Catholics are doing great things. We collaborate with them a lot in a lot of our CSR program. The village also have the town. You know, when you have a village, you have a semi-town, who is also a village anyway, but they are more enlightened than the village. Those ones, they have a school, and so we felt, okay, we need managers in the future from this school. So we have a school program where we gave them computers and all of that. So every year, we do one CSR or the other. But let me quickly mention that when we got to the town land, one of the things God told me was build a church here. I'm not a pastor, but I gave my life to Christ quite early. I knew my purpose in life quite early. I actually gave my life to Christ at 12 in secondary school. I knew my purpose in life. He's used me a lot in a lot of things. So I knew if he brought me here, there must be something he wanted me to do. It couldn't have been just to come and make money. So we built a church, and we normally worship there because we now have staff. And to go to town, we have staff quarters. So to go to town is always difficult. So we started having fellowship Wednesdays. We have praise night. Don't forget, he told us we win by praise. So we always have praise night once a month. And then we started doing missions. So Sotri is quite a Christian company. I'm not ashamed to say it. I am proud to be a Christian business person. And so we do part of our profits we use for missions. We support missionaries that are called of God that are not linked to churches. You don't believe there exist? Many of them. People God will just call and say, go to Asapa village and go and be winning souls there. And they are not part of Salem. They are not part of Redeem. It's not winners that sent them. So they just carry their bag and their children and go into and be living in those kind of huts. Some of them live under the tree. I have seen missionaries that will not feed for 1 week. And God will wake me up and say, somebody's going to call you tomorrow. He's a missionary. Support him. Start to support him. So when he puts money in your hand, it's because he needs that money. If he puts money in your hand, it's because he has an assignment for that money. And so part of why we have grown very fast in 10 years to be, well, one of the leaders, I don't want to boast, but one of the leaders in this industry, not just in Nigeria, in Africa, is because God is in the center stage of the business. I'm not a saint. That is not to say I am a saint, but I am saying that I follow his leading. And so we support missions every month. We have missionaries that are in the bush, in villages, rural environments, that go out month by month, that we support their family and support that outreach constantly on our payroll. Whether we feed, we don't feed. There are times God have put us in a position where we can't even pay salaries because we just did an expansion, or because the value chain is being threatened like we are going through now. And it will remain one day for them to go and I say, Baba, you sent me this work. They have planned the crusade for tomorrow. Please provide the money. And see, I'm not even asking you to provide salary now. And I'm not saying you should give me money to feed the canteen. Just let the missionaries be able to work. And he has always done it. It will be either in the morning, money we are not expecting, we just come. And I will tell my accountant, it's not our money. The bit that is supposed to go for missions goes first. Initially, my production accountant will say, Mama, this one will happen. If you don't do this one will happen. I say, okay, this 1 million that came in, can it solve all this problem? He will answer me, no. I say, so do God's own first. And always, I am a living testimony, because this is a church, so I'm not doing it like a normal presentation. I think God wants me to put him in the center stage of this presentation. He will always come back and meet those other needs at record time. Always. 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 But he will always test me first. We just a bit and say, checking, well, boy, he will do my own first. So now my people know when I say, that money that came is for me. Yes, ma, it's for mission first. Do the beats first. And then he does the rest. I felt I needed to mention this. Whatever vision he gives you, put him inside there. Let his own be inside and put him first. You won't suffer. He has woken kings up for me. He has woken people up for me. I don't want to mention it because I know this is going his life. He has opened powers that be in this country up in the midnight to say, that file on your table, that sorting file, attend to it now. 7 a.m. I'll get to come and say, which kind person you be? Oh, God just called now. Say, make we attend to your file. I said, I don't even know him. I've never even met him. Or I've only just been reading about him in the newspaper. So don't think I know him personally. I know he's my father. That went to wake them. I said, you have to do that bit. That belongs to me. He's my child. She must not suffer. So if you go to my next slide, that's, I hope I've been able to pick some points. We've taken that home. He must be in the center stage and be proud of him anywhere you go. And that's it. Oh, yeah. So, of course, in our AgriRas program, because we're working with farmers, we give them input, we give them herbicides, we give them, they own the land. Initially, our first scheme was they own the land, and then we provided them with all that they needed to do to farm for us. And when they farm, we take the crop into the factory, we produce our starch, and then we give them their money, and they take their profit, and we take our own money. From there, we grew from, can we go to the next slide? From 20 farmers. Today, we have above 5,000 farmers in our network. Of course, because we were doing something that was impacting life, it was easy to attract international donors. I mean, international, what we like call them, donors like IDH and all the agri donors to come in to assist us with funding to train the farmers. So we're using our profit to do it. And then they came up and said, what you are doing looks good. And then they are helping us. God taking off the lift, the weight away from our shoulder gradually. We are still doing what we need to do. Yes, we still put our money, but not like when I was putting all the money 100% to support those farmers, and all their livelihood, all their needs were really on my shoulder. God started lifting it up gradually by bringing people to come and assist us, international agencies to come and assist us. So when you start and you put people in the center stage of your planning or of your business, God will bring people who will recognize that and come and assist you. Today, we also have an agripreneur program where only youth, because we saw that our old farmers were going away. So we started encouraging their children. We have a school program, encourage their children to come and farm on their father's land, and they also come and farm on our own land. So we give them, we call them in-growers, bring them in to grow on our own land, or to provide sustainability for our factory. Roll, next slide. Okay, of course, that was the first factory, and that was the very first truck that brought products to the factory in 2013, May 2013. Okay, let's go on. Of course, we have roots. When roots come in, it loaded into the hopper, and then, of course, that was the first factory. Can we go on? Today, we have 4 products. We produce starch for all the multinationals. We produce high-quality cassava flour, also for the multinational and for export. We've just built the first cassava-based sorbitol plant in Africa. We are commissioning in about 2 months. We are test running now as we speak. And that's, sorbitol. Yeah, it's for your toothpaste. Right now, all the toothpaste companies in Nigeria import their major ingredients. And we saw that as a gap. And God said, do it. You can do it. Yes, it looks difficult. But for 2 years, we've been on it. But thank God. The COVID slowed us down by 1 year. But we thank God we've started test run now. So go on. You will see the factory now as we go on. So we have 4 products now. Starch, flour, glucose, and sorbitol. Can we go on to the next slide? Okay, so in 2015, I told you we built the second factory. That was the second factory. So we have 2 factories producing starch. And then the new factory now. Can we go on to the next slide? Go on, I will come back to this. Go on, I want to show. Okay, so that is the new sorbitol plant where we produce sorbitol. However, we also have innovation because we saw that when we started, farmers were getting fantastic yield. But then we now noticed that the yield is dropping. Every year, farmers are getting low yield. Starch content is going on. So we collaborated with IITA to put up an SAH lab where we actually grow our own seedlings to be able to distribute to farmers in the next 2 years. Even when everybody is crying of bad stem, we are already ahead. We are always ahead in our thoughts. Like my brother said, if you are in tune with God, he will always be telling you what is the next step. What will happen in the next 5 years, we already have it. We knew where we are going to be in the next 5 years. We know the next product. When they are all running, like he said, they will run after. I say, hey, sorbitol is the in thing now. You are ahead. The Holy Spirit has told you the next one. He has told you the next one. You are always ahead. Once you are in the tune with God, you are always ahead. Now, once you are used to listening to him, you will not likely be in a business that will fail again. When you are just starting, you'll be hearing, it's just like, I hear in parts, I understand in parts. You know, Paul said that. But when I became matured, I hear clearly. When he talks, he says, this is the way to go, follow it, and then you will follow it. So your risk, the rate at which you fail, will continue to reduce as you continue to learn to listen to him on the journey of your entrepreneurship. And agriculture, you must know how to listen to him as a Christian. I'm not saying Christians don't do business. Please don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is agriculture can be very risky. It is risky. It needs a lot of your energy. It needs a lot of your attention. It needs you to really know what you are doing. So you need to really be determined that I will succeed in this thing. And once you just succeed, it will just be like you are making money under your table. It's just to have that patience to succeed and actually understand what if just because you failed or because they say, oh no, we can't give green business money. You ran away and went back to Lagos. That's the end. Somebody else will do that same thing. Somebody will pick it from where you stopped and continue to run with it. Yes. But if you stay in it, you will learn what you learned. During the COVID, we learned a whole lot of things. We re-engineered our business in another direction. So, okay, in case COVID happened again, it will not catch us unaware this one. We'll have to re-engineer this way. He will talk to you. So you will meet those hurdles. You will redirect them. Don't be afraid. You will meet it. You will hit the rock. You will bounce back. And then, okay, if you bounce a ball on the ground now, it will bounce and go up. It always go higher. It will never go, except if you didn't bounce. If it bounces, the harder it bounces you, the higher you go back when you get up. And that's how it's going to be. Okay, the next slide, please. Oh, okay. Now, why we stand out? We actually stand out because we told ourselves we want to be the major player in this industry. And so we decided to pick our niche. If you want to do entrepreneurship, look for your niche. Where you think you have comparative advantage. Start small, but dream big. Dream global. But don't be afraid to start small. Don't go and borrow 1 billion naira and go and start business you've not done before. Why don't you just start with selling your car and use your car money to start the business? The worst that happen is that you lose that car and then you trek for 1 month. God will have mercy on you, buy another one. But if you go and borrow bank money and go and do business and it fails, it's enough to go and commit suicide. So the Bible says that wisdom is profitable to direct. Start small. Most of the time, start with your money. Start with your equity. When people see that you have started with your sweat, they know you will not run away in hard times. You know why? Because they feel you cannot part with that sweat. You parted with everything that you have. So they know you will not run away from it because you have. They will see how you have put your sweat. We call it sweat equity. Once you have sweated your equity into that business, it will be easy for anybody to want to put money into your business, especially when they see the kind of commitment and passion that you have put in. Guys, the sky is the limit for you. In fact, above the sky, the throne of God, if you can reach, if you can measure how high it is the limit. Dream, dare to just start. You can start behind your house. Plan for it. I'll be very quick to mention this. When you start making your money, that money is not your money. It's your business money. So don't start by saying the first 2 million naira. They must know I have arrived. And then you go and buy the latest Camry. That money is not your money. Pay your tithe and use the rest back into your business. Pay yourself salary. Assume you are not the owner of the business. I had a board as early as from the beginning of the business. Even though I knew I was the owner of the business. Most people don't even know that I own the business. So we have a board, and we not just a board for on the paper, a dynamic sitting board. In fact, your posture has my board chair and my own picture. So she said to me, I said, I have a picture. I said, I'm sure they made a mistake. Maybe they read it online. My board chairperson, my current board chairperson, is the person's picture you have on your board. And I mean, her name is Madam Folusha Oyaniran, the former UTC MD. Because I want a business that will outlive me. I want that structure. So when you come in, you will see structure. You won't even be asking who is the owner. You've seen structure now. You've seen structure now. So with the beginning of your business, put structure there. When you put structure there, yes, have a small cashier, do your bookkeeping, have that small office, let it be organized, because that is what will take you to greatness. He will not attract any investor if he does not have structure. Because they want to see your books now. They want to see how much money you are making. They want to see how you are paying it. They don't want to see MD go to Mr. Biggs. MD went to buy shoe. They will now be seeing ShopRite ticket inside company account. Kilode. Separate yourself from that business so that no matter how small the business is, let it be a business that is separate from you. So that at any point in time, that business can outlive. God forbid, God calls you home all of a sudden. The business should be able to outlive you and still survive as an entity. So I will say this and say it again. You will start, you will make the first quick money. Is the test money. Is your seed. Don't eat it. You must plant it back. If you carry your corn and you put it in the soil, it comes back with, is it one corn you get back? Maybe you get maybe 3 cups. If you take that 3 cups, sir, and you plant it back, you will maybe get 100 cups. If you take the 100 cups and you plant it back, you are likely making 1,000 cups. Now, if you make 100 cups and you eat 1 cup out of it, you may not feel it. But if you have eaten the first corn, that is the end. So, in the midst of your business is growing, tell yourself, if I was working in Access Bank, what would have been my salary? Oh, my mate are earning 200,000. Okay, and my business is already making 3 million. Pay yourself 100,000. And assume because it's my business now, I must plow back on just 100,000, so that the remaining profit is in the business and it continues to grow. Still be doing wakajugbe without a car. Don't rush to go buy car because it's a wasting asset. Instead, rush to go buy land because that is an asset that you can use to grow your business. So it's just some little business sense that you need to start. You don't have to have that big money. You could use 2 years to do your planning, but plan spiritually. As you are planning, be putting money to do something on the business. Be doing something on the business. When I started, be doing that first 5 years, I would like to say this. I already had Sultry Incorporated, so I opened an account. So when I collect my salary then, I'll go and pay it into Sultry account. Even though I had not started doing, you know why? I need bank statements later in 3 years. I want to show that that business has started something. So when I put it there, I will now pay part of it to myself back into my own private account. That's the one I'll be using. That one that is there, I will now use it maybe to go and continue to pay for the land. Then to show there, I'll put it there, land purchase. It will go there. So when First Bank came and I gave them the statement, they saw that even though it's small, but for 5 years she's been banking and she's been consistent. Small, but grow it. You must know what you are doing. Have your strategy. Follow it. You don't need to discuss it with anybody. Have it somewhere. And as you're thinking about it, he'll be dropping ideas in your mind. Quickly write it down. He will drop idea in your mind. Quickly write it down. Use all those ideas to do your business plan. It becomes your roadmap. You run with it and he will help you. And he will take you to the promised land. Before you know it, bam, you become a household name. And God himself alone will take all the glory. Thank you very much.
MC, stand here. Can we give a rounding and a standing ovation for this presentation? A standing ovation for this presentation. Please be seated. Thank you so much, ma. I did promise you that this year's exploits, we are bringing disruptors. And you can hear these disruptors giving these great presentations. This is the dream that we had when we began the wealth creation department of this church. In the wealth creation department, we have the capacity development unit, we have the investment unit, and we have the networking unit. We established what we call the Salem Economic Community, which is a networking unit. The capacity building unit is the platform where this exploit is being organized every year. And then we have other trainings. And the investment unit is the platform where we have the Salem Cooperative. While I was sitting there, I got inspired that there will be a follow-up breakfast meeting, but it's not going to be for everybody that attends this program. It's just going to be for members of Salem Cooperative. And all the facilitators for this year's program will be at that breakfast meeting. It's going to be a mentoring session. It's going to be a follow-up on what we have done today. I would like to inform you that as a cooperative, we have started small. We've gotten an integrated farm in Ogun State where we're going to do poultry, snail farming, and fish farming. As I speak to you, we have a water business by the cooperative, and we have a mini market, a mini mart. You will see it as you're going out. Please, if you have not joined the cooperative, the breakfast meeting will not grant you any access. So your access to that breakfast meeting, and it's going to hold on the 24th of July. I'm giving you a date, but I will not tell you the venue so you won't crash enter. Praise the Lord. One more time, I want us to please celebrate the facilitators from IITA to Farm Crowding. And I'm so excited because I've been looking at your face and comparing you with this face. I didn't know that it was the chairman there and the MD here. Come on, let's put our hands together for the Lord. Now, MC, you can come over and continue your work. Please, let's put our hands for the MC, who is doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So I realized that it's important that I also introduce myself. My name is Tunji Andrews. Quite a few of you would have known, or at least if you've ever heard my name before, you probably have heard me on radio. 99.3 Nigeria Info, Smooth FM, quite a few, Bloomberg Africa at some point. I left radio last year to start what I call Our Bar, and it's a pension platform for people who are self-employed. I know you're all thinking about how to make money now, but retirement happens to all of us eventually. We will all retire at one time or the other. And we realized, the business case for us was quite simple. 70 million people in Nigeria's labor force. Only 11 million of those 70 million have a retirement plan. You can check the numbers. Pencom has them. Of this, the remaining left, about 24 million of them are unemployed, which is a big problem. But that said, we still have over 30 million Nigerians who do not have a retirement savings, but work in one place or the other. And I'm very sure some of them are here today. Well, you can check us out. Our Bar is our name, and we basically just set you up. You can, get to our website, and you can pick the PFA you want to join up with. What we have done is we have aggregated all the PFAs so that you can get access to them, so you can start saving for your retirement from now. Thank you very much. You have to sell your market wherever you go. So, as I was saying, we're going to have a panel conversation right now, but I just want to quickly recognize some people. We have in our midst the Deputy Majority Leader, Lagos State House of Assembly, Honorable Naim Farubi Adams, who is ably represented by Yemi Samuel, who is his personal assistant. Is Yemi around? Send him our best wishes. Thank you very much. I still also have a few. Is Reverend Olumuyiwa Falade in the house with us? Good afternoon, sir. Reverend Kennedy Okurua. Did I get it right? Reverend Kennedy is in the house. Okay. Reverend Joseph Esenwa. Please just wave to everybody so that we know you're here. And Reverend Simon Odomoku. Okay. Good afternoon, sir. It's on the far end. And Reverend Raphael Ikedinwa. Okay. Yes. Great. So we're going to have our panel discussion now. The panel discussion is quite simple. A microphone will go around so that you can be able to ask your questions directly. I already have one question already, which came while you were speaking. So you'll be the first question. But I would like to just invite all our speakers to the panel session. Miss Evelyn Ohamwusi, please put your hands together for her as she comes up. Onyeka, please join us. Mrs. Yemisi, thank you very much. Also, one speaker that will also be joining us is the VP Online and Retail Acquiring on the OPay platform. Moses Samuel will also be joining us. Good morning. We have one more seat, please. Could you? We need one more chair. Oh, wow! My counting has gone backwards. I don't know why I thought I saw 3. All right. So welcome everyone. So I'm going to just start the questions. Do we have more questions already coming in? All right, so let me just also recognize Barrister Ifedi. Is he in the house? Yes, good afternoon. And Reverend Zach Usman. Yeah, I just saw him wave. Thank you very much, sir. All right, so we're going to start the questions. I had a few questions that I put out here while you were all speaking. But please just write out your question and just give it out. Or, okay, if you are too, I don't think you should not be bold. You should be bold if you're into entrepreneurship. But if for some reason you don't want to speak, you could just write out and, but the microphone will also go around so that you can ask the questions you want to ask. So I'm going to just ask everybody one question each, and then we'll go to the audience so that we can, just quickly take that. Let me start with Evelyn. I guess one of the things I've always thought to myself about agriculture is that it always looks like it always looks like it has a low barrier to entry. I'm not sure if that's my microphone. So why don't we have, I don't know if the question is if we need more farmers or why don't we have better farming? Especially for young people who are innovative, who have all the ideas. I'm sure that what he created with the value chain of at least aggregating money and aggregating farm produce could also go into the entire value chain from the farming, the seeds, the fertilizer. There's so many things in that value chain that can be plugged in. Why are we not having more young people with all the ideas? Why are we not having more of them in there? The microphone is beside you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. MC.
Tunji Andrews.
Tunji Andrews, yeah. Thank you for the question, and I'd like to respond as such. So, yes, there might be need for more farmers, as you know, and as Ms. Waloye said, most of our farmers are aging, right? And there's a need to replace the aging population of farmers. If we do not have a strategy in place to ensure that young people are attracted or are brought into the sector, very soon we'll probably run out of the supply of food, and there's a need for more farmers. In terms of, I also said this in the course of my presentation, demystifying the agri-value chain. So we heard Onyeka speak about the various entry points. Madam also spoke about the various entry points whereby people can come into agriculture, either as input suppliers, either in the production sector, either in the marketing sector, the ICT. So agriculture in its own is very, very big. Like, it's enormous. There are a lot of entry points. However, we cannot just assume that or you just sit and then imagine that there is this, okay, because everyone is speaking about, let's say, starch or let's say cassava flour, then everybody has to go into that production. It doesn't work that way. She will tell you that she works with various farmers, those that bring the inputs for her, like the cassava stems. But then the cassava farmers actually need some fertilizers, they need the seeds, that is the stem, and then she's also going into the semi-entrepreneurial. So there's a lot of opportunities across the sector. The person that grows the cassava does not necessarily have to transport the cassava. There's the transport system, there's the storage, there is the input supply, as I said earlier, the primary production, service provision. The farmer might not even know how to use the drone for all we care. And it's a service provider within the sector that actually engages that. And that's where the young person plugs in, because we are, as we say, we're quite innovative as young people. We hear about what Farm Crowd is doing, bringing investments. We hear about what they're doing in the transport sector. We hear about the various engagements ongoing. So as a young person, the idea is to identify where the gap exists and then create an opportunity for yourself to succeed within that space. I don't know if this addresses your question. I'll be happy to
No,
just
it
follow
does.
up
It
questions.
does. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. Oyeka, I wanted to ask something, and especially because, you know, I have many questions here and I can only ask one. That's the problem. So I think the one that I probably should ask is around funding for your startup. Okay, I knew that always catches everyone. I was talking to a young entrepreneur yesterday, and he seemed broken. I mean, they've been pushing this idea for a while. The idea is quite innovative. And he gets frustrated the more, him and his team, every time he hears that somebody else who just has an idea, they already have an MVP. MVP is a minimum viable product. They have an MVP, but they were able to raise $1 million on just an idea. And he has an idea and he's shopping it around and he's not been able to get one investor. I get that you have to, I mean, there's the idea that you must pitch to at least 100 investors to get the amount you want. But the question I wanted to ask really is around, what else should this person know? Is there like trade secret of pitching? How do you even get access to these people in the first place?
Okay. I think that's one of the most common questions entrepreneurs are dealing with. And I'm going to talk from my experience, how one has been able to raise funding. Now, in the first business that I raised funding for, which was QuickGist, I raised $50,000 in funding for that business in 2013. What happened was I went to an event and I researched who was coming to the event. And I saw that there were maybe one or two other investors that I was excited about in that event. This was 2012, because it was 2013 I then got the money. So I was speaking in the event, and I was speaking about mobile marketing. But I knew that that guy or some people would be there. So what I did, I had already started QuickGist. And QuickGist at that time had about 80,000 users. And QuickGist was just about 4 weeks old. So I got into the event. One of my colleagues, you know how you come for an event and you want to speak, maybe one of your people in the team come with you. I told him to write down a question. When it's time to ask questions, whether the topic is related or not, because I knew there will be investors there. I said, the question is, Onyeka, how is it that you were able to get QuickGist from 0 users to 80,000 users in 4 weeks? And are you looking at getting investors? So he sat at the back. I finished preaching, talking about mobile marketing, and it was time for questions like this panel. And he got up and he asked the question. Now, I answered that question passionately. When I was done, I went to get tea. My first investor in that business walked up to me and said, "That's your idea. Tell me more about it." It took 2 more meetings after meeting him from that place to get that money. Now, that's one. Farm crowding happened, and I said I pitched to 80 investors. It took me 80 of them to pitch to get the money I got, which I'll speak to what they looked at. But Plenty Waka is raising funding, and it has taken me just 5 to 6 investors to get to where I got to with farm crowding with 80. Experience over time has taught me these vital lessons that I'm going to share. Number one, when an investor wants to look at your idea, what they want to see is a team. They want to see a team, so you can have a CEO or a managing director leading the business, but they want to see not just one person, they want to see a team of people supporting the managing director or a team of co-founders that are coming together to make this idea work. Two, now I'm saying this from my experience, so everybody have theirs. But that's why I gave that story and I gave the second. The second thing they want to see is a team that has complementary skills. You may have worked in an organization that has done something similar to what your idea is today. It counts. You may have done something in the past that you didn't find it relevant. It counts today, so put it there. Then 3, they want to see you in a market that has scale. I am building Plenty Waka in Nigeria today, getting people to move from one bus stop to the other. I can't build Plenty Waka in London. There are red buses everywhere. So even if I am Onyeka with the best idea in Plenty Waka and I start that idea in London today, no investor will invest in me early enough because they see I'm competing with red buses. But I'm in Nigeria where you have 250,000 yellow danfos that I can easily show an investor how my business model is going to take up that market. So you want to show them a market where your idea can scale. 3, they want, so that's 3. So 4, they want to see traction. And so the story of Sultry, talking about how she invested her salary and it was growing in traction, she had a reason to show investors that she had done something for over 3 years before she went to them was important. When I started farm crowding, I started saving 50% of my salary for 9 months before we launched. And I used part of that to start the business. My salary was, I was earning a tithe of my salary. Let me give you, nobody will hold me. I was earning 1.5 million in my job. I stopped the job and I started earning 150,000 naira from my new business. A tithe of what I was earning on my job. But I was consistently keeping 750K for 9 months for me to get going. That's my story. Your story can be you have 200,000 naira, you're saving 100,000 naira. And when you start your business, you start paying yourself 50K. Everybody have theirs, but I did that for a period. It was painful, but it was traction. So when I started my idea, before I went to the first investor, I had traction of about 3 months that the business had taken off on, and they could see that traction. The second to the last thing I'll say is, you also need to have an idea that is, as much as I've said, relevant to the market, that you have some paying customers already. That you have some paying customers already. And the last thing is, investors want to see an exit. They're not just giving you money for giving you sake. They want to see, if I'm investing in you, an exit doesn't always have to be you sell the business or you're aiming for an IPO, an initial public offering. It can also be that you're looking at the next round of funding or in 2 rounds of funding that will come in the future as you grow the business. This investor that has invested, so case in point, an investor invested $60,000 in the first time I raised money for farm crowding. By 1 month later, by 9 months later, we're able to raise about $1 billion at a higher valuation, which was about 10x. If he wanted to exit his 60, he could have gotten his money back and he still has shares. So you want to tell an investor and show an investor a potential exit. It doesn't have to be selling the business. It can be in future funding rounds or even an exit, as the case may be. These are the ways you sell your ideas to investors. And the other thing is just get a very good pitch, a pitch deck, and then consistently find ways to research your investors. Research the investors in your domain. It's not all investors that say they're investing in agriculture that you pitch to. That was what I did with Farm Crowdy. Some will tell you it's only West African businesses that are focused on. Even when it's West Africa, they'll tell you it's only Ghana. They are not talking to Nigeria. So if you're pitching to them, you're wasting your time. So research your investors. It reduces how many you will speak to, and you're a lot more efficient in converting them. That's how I moved from pitching to 80 of them with Farm Crowdy and raising money, and then now pitching to 5 and getting the same way the money I got when I pitched to 80. I hope that helps.
It does. Ma'am, so this question already came while you were speaking, and the question was, what do you mean by soilless growth of crops?
First of all, let me say something about pitching. To pitch, you need to first of all write out your story. Try and compress it as more as possible into a summary. Walk in your room and talk that pitch over and over by yourself. He will tell you that he didn't start pitching the first pitch. You know, he said that every time he pitched, he was better and better. So, because if you go there and you are, so as I was, and so no, it is, nobody will take it serious. So in order for you not to do as I was coming, as I was going, practice it in your room. Talk about it. Talk like you are talking to yourself. So you are pitching to yourself and ask yourself, even if it's your son, you know, children of these days are very intelligent. 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, call them and say, I want to tell you about the company we want to form. Tell me whether I'm convincing you now. And then you are talking to him. I say, no, mommy, didn't talk well. Then you say it again. Because when you pitch well, you attract their attention. They get motivated and get attached to that passion. You transfer it to them. They get interested. So I just needed to tell you that pitching is not just saying something, no. It's like convincing me to put money down. And so you need to talk like Oyeka is talking, as in really talk with conviction to make somebody put his hand in his pocket and bring 1 million naira, or sorry, 1 million US dollar into your business. Okay, soilless, that is agriculture that you are not, when you're planting something that is not inside the soil. So we do hydroponics, xerophonics, your aero, the one in the air. So if you go through my slide, you actually see there, and there are some link there that you can use to get more. You plant the soil in there. But in that air, what you do is you give the plant the nutrients. So all the necessary nutrients will be put in maybe sawdust or something, and then it's hung in a substrate, and then it is hung on railings like this. And then you can do more in that confined space. You also have hydroponic in the water. You know, even if you go into the river, you see some plants, planktons and all that on top of the water. That's actually what you want to mimic when you go and do some planting using water. There too, the nutrients that the plant will grow with is inside that pool of water, and it takes its nutrients from it. So I hope I've been able to give an idea. But if you go into that presentation, you see some link that takes you into further readings on that.
So I'm going to come to Moses now, but let me just quickly give a background on him. Graduate of electronics engineering, and also an alumnus of Lagos Business School. Like I told you earlier, he's the vice president of online business and retail acquiring at OPay. He was previously chief sales officer of Global Accelerex. He was also one-time managing director of Oradian, Nigeria. He was also the vice president sales at Flutterwave. So he does quite have some very wide experience. I want to ask this question. OPE is in very, I mean, I can obviously remember when they set up OPE. It was like, it was not yesterday, but it was like yesterday. But the sales you people are doing, they don't make noise about it, which I don't get. But if you are in the ecosystem, you get to know, especially when you are trying to look for who should handle your payments, you find out who is doing significant numbers. And I want to understand, I mean, I don't know if you can tell us the details, but how did you guys do it? I mean, and in such a short period of time, being able to reach some of the interlands that you've reached, being able to get, you know, even the very local people to make payments via OPE. How did you do it?
Thanks. So, I know for everyone that is that's listening to the fantastic people that have spoken about agriculture, and I sit here, I see that I'm not into agriculture, but I'm super excited because one of the critical elements for their business will be the payment aspect. So rest assured, I've had questions around, like, we all applaud Onyeka because, of course, in the early days of Flutterwave and Paystack, so we're instrumental to him accepting payments from people. For everyone of us that is seated here, you hear that, hey, there is a company, Flutterwave, that has raised $170 million. Like, you now begin to say, this money, where will they see them? Or some people will sit back and say, some young guys, Paystack, divested $200 million. Like, InterSwitch sold 20% of their business to Visa for $200 million. And it's quite very painful when we see that the people who truly bring value to every one of us. So I want to quickly, before I answer you, I want to just read out something. I got the statistics from National Bureau of Statistics in September last year. What Nigerians spend money on: 57% on food, 6.4% on transportation, 6.2% on health, 5.9% on education, 57% on food. But the guys who are truly doing the food payments, doing so much on food, he's been able to raise $1 million. But some folks who are doing payments, you continue to see Kuda Bank has raised this, Mono has raised this. Every new company that comes out on the payment side, to answer you quickly, OPE raised $200 million to start the business in Nigeria. Like, to just start, $200 million. So it tells you that so much is given on the payment side. So much is given. And the reason why it's very easy for them to raise, I've gone on many so Silicon Valley to do all those rates. And the first thing that really comes to mind is the structure that really happens on the payment side. And nothing got me excited more than when Nika talked about that they were engaging SEC in the early days. Because what CBN has done has given a bit of credibility to the payment infrastructure. So it becomes very easy for any payment company to go to Silicon Valley to go raise money and talk about, we are licensed by the CBN, we do all of this particular stuff. Every today, you just see people complain that a SEC wants to kill us, somebody wants to kill us. It takes every payment company to realize that before you start to operate, you need to get a CBN license. So that regulatory compliance is super important. But to answer you, it's very easy for the payment companies to raise money. It's super very easy because everything they do has to do with data. So for Madam, who is doing so much on the interland, especially doing agri for people who are very poor, we all can relate with what she's doing because she's giving back to the community. But most times, whatsoever she's doing can become faceless in the grand scheme of things. We only got to know, every one of us seated here, because she gave us those lovely things she's doing. Can we all relate? But before this meeting, we truly can't tell the fantastic things she's doing. And so it tells you, like, data is the new oil of the digital economy. So for the payment company, one thing we continue to do is to ensure that data around what we do is available. And so we are looking forward to a time where Madam and Onyeka, like we know from Crowdy, that so much data around what they do, forget Christianity. It's not blowing your trumpet. The international community can only recognize because they see data around the things you do. So digital marketing becomes very important for her. So it's not like, oh, because founded by Christian values, yes, I'm a Christian to the teeth. But the truth of it is, it's very important that the fantastic things she's doing, we begin to see it out there. That is when investors will reach out to her. For payment companies today, it's not every time we go look for people to come invest. They are looking out, they are reading tech about, they are reaching out to you to say, we want to buy a stake in your business. Because the future is truly payment. And so for the wonderful things we do, the white people and everyone is thinking, how will I monetize these fantastic things that people are doing? So to tell you, Ope started his business with 200 million without even anything on ground.
That's like starting the exam with Expo. Yeah. I mean, fantastic thoughts there, and I completely agree. I mean, the industry. So if you're also into entrepreneurship here, I mean, he has said something very fantastic. You also have to blow your horn. You cannot meet every investor, but one investor might just mistakenly read about you somewhere. I'm sure your feature in CNN made it easier to talk to another investor. I mean, just naturally, the fact that you're on CNN just means that the next person you're going to meet, he will do a small Google search and he sees you on CNN. He'll probably look at like, what does this guy feel like? But the conversation is sweeter, you know? So blow your own horn. Find how you can get into those places. So a question here, what is crowdfunding and how do you customize crowdfunding to funding your startup idea or your unique idea? So I think the person is talking about crowdfunding for businesses.
Okay, crowdfunding is simply crowd funding something. That's crowdfunding. It's simply a crowd of people funding something. So the channel to crowdfund can be, I come in here and say, everybody should please contribute 10,000 naira. I've crowdfunded from you to do one task. We can crowdfund to do a task expecting a return, or we can crowdfund to do a task as a donation, right? The second thing is you can use different channels to crowdfund. You can use a website to crowdfund. You can use all forms of technology. You can use WhatsApp to crowdfund. We can use communicating here, and we distribute paper to crowdfund. We crowdfund a lot in church when we are giving offering towards a project. That's crowdfunding, a crowd of people funding a project. So that's the concept of crowdfunding. Now, in Farm Crowdy's case, we did the same thing, but we used two elements. One was we used a website, mobile app technology to get people to now crowdfund for agriculture. Then we also used the second concept of a return on the investment. So it wasn't a donation. You expect your money back and a return. We took that and stepped further and started crowdfunding on Crowdivest for not just agriculture, but health, education, transportation, real estate, and that is happening. Then Crowdinvest now has evolved into being a digital bank. Recently, I've seen crowdfunding in different sectors. I have a friend who is right now, so it's not just a friend, he's a co-founder actually. So on Rent Small Small, he picked the concept of, so it's not, I wouldn't say it's my idea, it was his own idea. He picked the concept of crowdfunding. He's been trying to get people to pay rent monthly. So instead of paying 2 million naira for a house in Lekki, you would stay in Ikorodu and you're living in Victoria Island because the house in Ikorodu maybe is cheaper, it's 500K. But But you would have wished you could have been paying that for that house at 2 million naira. So what Rent Small Small will do is it will negotiate with the landlord so that you'll be paying the rent of 200,000 naira monthly. And then it becomes easier for you to pay. So that's the concept of Rent Small Small. But what my co-founder there did, his name is Tunde, was he found it difficult convincing landlords. So he then wanted to buy houses. Now, if you want to buy a house, and let's say for this example, it's 50 million naira to buy a house. He created a platform called Buy to Let, where he would take that 50 million naira house, say a duplex of 5, and split it into rooms of 10. So instead of a duplex of 5, you now have rooms in it, and that room, you will now have like 10 rooms in that duplex of 5. Then he puts it on the Buy to Let platform, which has gone live, and he sold in the last count, they've done about 200 million in their first month of launching that business. They've sold already about 4 houses in Lekki. So he puts the house up. You will come and say, I don't have 50 million naira to buy a house. I will join this crowd fund to put 5 million naira or 5 million naira to own a room in that house. So I now have a room. I'm a landlord, not of a house, but of a room. So 10 of us will bring 5, 5, 5, 5. Each one of us will get our documents from the lawyers and everything. We have our own room. He will now take it and put it on Rent Small Small so that people can now start paying rent on a monthly basis. So me as landlord A, I have a room and I'm now earning 60,000 naira or 80,000 naira a month in rent. That is the power of crowdfunding.
Amazing, amazing. Ma'am, so somebody asked, there's 2 questions come together. What do you consider in setting up a board, and how does the board benefit a startup?
Yes. Okay. Putting up a board is basically using people's experience for free. Because they are non-executive members of your board, they are non-shareholders. So you are looking for people who have had various experiences and they are willing to come and give you for free. Yes, you will give them thank you for being on our board, little pegs, which is little. So in putting up the board, you make sure that you have an accountant. It's very key. An accountant who has experience in business accounting. You need that person so that he can help you look at your accounts. If it's a manufacturing outfit, you need an engineer. Somebody who knows, who is a qualified engineer, who can, let's say you are buying an equipment, can give an advice in terms of that. You need a lawyer. Actually, have a company secretary. You can get even a lawyer that left school today. He's a lawyer. He has all the basic knowledge. You pay some little token to him to look at your legal documents. You remember you are a startup, so you cannot from beginning go and be looking for the like of Deloitte to come and be on your board. You cannot pay their sitting allowance. But you will still see people who have run 10 years in their business, who have 10 years experience, 15 years experience, 5 years experience in various fields. Make sure you balance your board. You can start with a 3-man board. It doesn't have to be 9. A 3-man board, 1 lawyer, 1 accountant, 1 business person. You have fulfilled the 3 cardinal aspects of what your business will need. A second opinion. It's actually a second opinion. And it's actually somebody watching your back. So when I take things to the board, it's because I want a second opinion on that thing. I tell myself, it helps me to say, you are not the owner of the business. Somebody else is looking at it. This decision, does it look right? Because they don't owe you anything. You are not paying them salary. They will tell you the truth. They will tell you the truth because, it's not salary for me now. I'm here to help you. So you have to take to, and you will see that you will save yourself a lot of bad decisions. You know, you will save yourself a lot of things you would have been paying consultancy to do for you. Now, they also, how you ask, what do they now benefit? They benefit by saying that they were on your board. Oh, it is a proud thing to be on my board. Just say you are on board of something. Ooh, it's something. I'm on the board of IITA BIP. I'm proud to be there. They will take my own knowledge. I will also pride myself to be on that board. Yes, you get some little perks of sitting allowance and all of that, which you can negotiate with them. Say, you know, we are a small company. We might not be able to pay more than 10,000 naira sitting allowance. They say, okay, don't worry. When you grow, it will be better. People who are willing to serve on your board from their heart of contribution, you will get them and they will help you. And you can start from the scratch. When you are setting up your company, remember they are non-executive. So you will have your non-disclosure signed. Once you get a lawyer, he will make sure that all the things they need to sign is properly signed. And they understand that they are non-executive and they are there to just help you grow your business.
All right, so we're going to take questions from the audience. Yes, we have a question there. One of the things about a board, we'll come to you, sir. One of the things about the board is that you're accountable to them. So when your head is hot and is going left, they will bring it right, no matter how hot it gets. Pick people that you're afraid of, not afraid of, but people that you respect enough to listen to whenever they show up, so that they can call you to order anytime.
Good afternoon, distinguished panelists and speakers. In 2019, we had an explosive session on agriculture during exploit like this. Loaded with ideas, full of enthusiasm, I took off to a village to see how I can utilize the hectares of land that my father has. The day I arrived, some youths were arrested for going to the farm by 1 a.m. to go and pilfer on what people had cultivated. My mother told me if you try it, the villagers will feed on it. The next day, some Fulanis were arrested. The cassava people planted massively. They uprooted them for their cows to feed on. So I got discouraged. Security challenges. Pilferage challenges. It's like you are operating outside Nigeria where I didn't hear you talk about this. The villagers, everybody on your side. Maybe because you gave them water. Food shortage. The high cost of food price today arises from the fact that more than 50% of farmers in the north can no longer go to the farms. It's affecting agricultural output. So maybe from your experiences or what your knowledge, how do you tackle such challenges? Number two, you had a very sound business model, and you're talking of your business plan. You discover that in Nigeria today, various macroeconomic aggregates are thrown out of balance because of the negative impact of government policies. A lot of policy somersaults that can vastly affect your business, that can throw your calculations or business plans out of relevance. Have you heard challenges of government legislations? Sometimes it could be tax, by the local state or local government. And so also you have interference of government via policies that are unfavorable and which changes rapidly, and which is one of the major reasons why many investors have run out of Nigeria, because of a lot of uncertainty, apart from our economic environment, but on government policies. How do you tackle, you have such experience to share, because these are negative factors that are limiting, young entrepreneurs going into business. You've done your calculation. The next thing, one policy comes out and it goes off.
I get that. I see that. I think Onyeka answered the first part of the question, because all you said has been, there are people solving it. And I'll have Mrs. Eroloye answer the second part, because, yeah.
Okay, on the first one, tackling challenges related to security, related to stealing on the farms, there are so many. In my own experience, so in my slide, I wasn't shy of saying we've dealt with, we've had a lot of mistakes and we've had a lot of issues. And that's the truth. I remember our first maize project was on 500 hectares in Barkin-Ladi in Jos, in Plateau State. And we're raising 500 hectares of maize. We're hoping to cultivate. We're anticipating 4 tons per hectare, 5 tons if we could push it. It took a major crisis in that town and losing the lives of some of our farmers for us to shut down that project. We literally lost everything. 500 hectares. I don't know if you understand the maths. 500 hectares. We lost everything. That was our first grain project. Grain. But today I come here and I still say we have 420,000 farmers in our network. I still say investors are investing in our business. See, as entrepreneurs, you need to have the cockroach mentality. If it was easy, then everybody else would do it. We've dealt with issues. So that's why I say, when I was saying here, when I was talking, I said, people look at me now and say, hey, I want to be you. I asked them, can you take my pain? Can you take my experience? Can you take the trash I've had to deal with? So it's a fact that in our country, we have so many issues. And that particular incident made us to cut off a huge part of the country where we were going to be investing in that form of production any longer and looked towards the safer parts. Because the money we're using to do this was crowdfunded money. It's not our money. And we have to pay people back their money. They won't want to hear excuse that, oh, you've put it in the farm, one communal clash happened, you can't get your money. You've lost trust. And so the first thing every entrepreneur should do is do your due diligence before you start investing your time and resources into your project. Research the area you're going into. And this is in agriculture. This is in every other sector. Weigh the risk to the barest minimum, but you will still have risk you deal with. Make sure it's the one you can manage. Make sure it's the one you can manage. And so in dealing with these things, that's why I said it's not everyone that should go and start planting seed in the ground. There's so many other sectors people can focus on. There are some guys that I know that just came from Harvard. While everybody's talking about these challenges, they focused on market access. They built a platform and started exporting so they wait for the farmers to deal with all the issues. All they come to do is mop up the harvest and export it. They didn't have time to go and start putting seed in the ground. Everybody have their own threshold of what you can deal with. So pick your own, do your due diligence, do your research. In those issues are the opportunities. In those issues we're dealing with are the opportunities. Now, so I don't know where your farm is located or where you went to do, you wanted to start your farming exercise before you got discouraged. What part of the country? Kogi? Fine. So another thing I've come to see is in every state, and that's one thing God has blessed us in this country with, You would have where they say it's not safe, and you have where they say it's safe. There's still something that happens in Kogi that's safe to do. It is not compulsory you must use your own land to farm. You can use somebody else's land. The goal at the end of the day is that you want to build an agribusiness. If you're going to tie it to only what you have, then there are other states. There are other states. There's Crest Agro that is doing with Sahel in Kogi, that's in cassava, that I currently am doing stuff with. Still in that Kogi that are producing cassava. But sir, what I'm getting at is, okay, so
if there is anyone seated here that has used Uber before, you've used Uber, please just wave your hand. Yes. In case you don't know, in 2016, when we were talking to the central bank, when you want to make payment electronically in Nigeria, you have to do what they call 2FA. You put your card, they send you, you put your PIN, and OTP comes to you. That is the guideline. Every payment you use your card where you pay online, you must put your PIN and OTP. But Uber was coming into this country. They were not going to change their flow. If you take Uber when you put your card, nobody asks you to put your PIN. You just put your card and the payment is debited and you move on. Advocacy is some of the things that is truly lacking. We must, as a business, we must learn how to advocate. That means people who are concerned about that particular stuff must take their cry somewhere. Young folks in Florida, we took the cry to CBN. It became the opportunity for us to see Piggyverse, all of these things where you see people can put their card in the payment system. You couldn't do that before 2016. I am saying advocacy, someone must do. So whatever Onyeka is saying is because he's done some fight. So if you continue to do toe-to-toe, it will give us continuous reasons to see why it cannot be done. Because he told you that if you can't farm, you can do other parts. You can invest. So if you can't farm there, come to Otukpo, go to Agatu, go to another area that is close to you because maybe you say they've ravaged the whole of Igala land. But the second part is, if you don't need to farm, you can do the transportation, you can do the processing, you can do the warehouse. So in truth, there must be 1,001 reasons why we can't do the things we want to do. Advocacy is important. Thanks.
Are you done, Oyega?
yes, I'm done.
Okay.
I think the point he made also answers the second question.
Yes.
Because when we started crowdfunding in Nigeria, people said we can't do it, that you don't have any regulation to do it. We started engaging with the regulators and started building the regulation. So I had a member of my board who was the managing director of Bank of Industry and told me innovation precedes, you innovate and the regulators will follow.
Yeah.
And so we took that position, and only then were we able to start advocating for crowd. Now I've done that successfully, and you now have a regulation that has come into place. It's going to affect many of the players. I'm no longer in that sector. I've already moved on. I'm advocating another thing that nobody's paying attention to. Do you understand? So it takes vision and foresight. If you're going to be an innovator, you should be ready to take on that champion's role, to go and advocate, like he said, and get things done, and then you can thrive. At the end of the day, if you make room for yourself and you're the only player in that industry, you get the benefits before every other person.
Absolutely.
Okay, if you go back into my slide, you will see that there's a particular slide where I mentioned a whole lot of different type of opportunities that exist in agriculture. If you study that slide, you will see quite a number. I decided not to dwell too much on the negativity. Why? Because I feel we talk too much about negativity in agriculture in Nigeria, so much that it becomes unattractive to anybody, and it's as if nobody is succeeding. So I felt, yes, if you check my slide, there's a whole challenge, there's a whole slide that talks about the challenges that are therein. But then, are people surmounting these challenges? Yes. Actually, my farm is about 45 minutes away from Igboho. The story of, what's his name? Sunday Igboho that you heard of. My farm is 45 minutes away. As a matter of fact, we donated to that cause. That's a whole story of its own. But we are surviving. Okay? That's because we have determined to succeed in that space. Like he said, you can't be an investor or an entrepreneur if you continue to dwell on the negativity. No. Yes, Nigeria, no road. Yes. Yes, Nigeria, no water. Yes. Create your water. Be your government. And then government will come to meet you. Now, government taxes in agriculture in Nigeria, government have tried to provide some enabling environment kind of. You could get what we call a tax rebate, 5 years tax rebate in agricultural space. You really might not need to know too many people to get it. Honestly, it's just having the information, apply, go there. You will do wakao, as in go and bring this one, go and bring that one. But at least I know you can get it. And if you get a tax holiday for 5 years, your business begins to strive before then. Levies of, you are carrying your yam from the village to Lagos, you could have up to 15 stops. And you are paying 1,000 naira on top of every stop. Yes. But will you sell your yam when you get to my 12? Yes. Will you make profit from that yam when you get to my 12? Yes. So you will add the additional 25,000 naira you have spent on the road on top of your capital and sell your market. And then continue to advocate that, oh, remove the road checks on the road. Whenever there's a campaign about remove roadblock, support it. But that does not mean you sit your head and say, until you remove the roadblock, I will not market yam. Hunger will kill you. So you just must be able to find a legitimate way to work around the issues in the country and still strive. So that's...
As a matter of fact, one of the things I've noticed is that when investors are speaking to you about a business, they always want to know if you know the challenges. They want to know if you know it well enough. And the reason why they're asking if you know the challenges is, if you know it well enough, you can surmount the challenges. Or you can walk around the challenges. But do you know them is the most important thing. So knowing them is very important, but being able to be positive about it is also very important. We have another question. Oh, sorry. Sorry, sir. She was going to add something.
My mic. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is a topic that is very interesting for me, and I'd like to touch on what the other panelists have said and to re-echo some of these things. So my favorite phrase is the government has no business doing business, right? We are the ones that want to do the business, the private sector, the entrepreneurs, and all of us. And the government's primary responsibility is to create that enabling environment that allows businesses to survive, to thrive, and all. She spoke about tax rebates and all of that. And so one way I think we can really move forward regards most of these challenges we face. She spoke about security challenges. You spoke about pilfering and stealing. You forgot another one that is related even to security, the high rise of kidnapping. I think it was in 2020. One of the agripreneurs, or one of the trained youth that we worked on a tractor, the Uber tractor with Hello Tractor. And this lady was one of the most inspiring trainees that we had. She was kidnapped with her fiancé. And she explained that her fiancé was shot in the process of, escaping from the kidnappers. And then her parents had to pay a ransom or whatever. Nobody knows the amount. As we know, we don't always hear that end of the story. I'm driving somewhere, and of course, she was bold enough to come out to share her story. It was very painful, but she spoke up. Now, leading back to my previous story, we have all these challenges, but that does not mean that the young persons will not farm, that you would abandon your farm and all of that. We hear about the crisis in Southern Kaduna, where they have like the best, climate, or let me say the best environment to produce some of the commodities that we rely on. But they've abandoned their farms because the moment they step in the farms, something will happen. We hear about the crisis in Southern Kaduna. It's no news to any of us. And so he spoke a lot about advocacy. We continue to do some of those advocacy activities. We continue to engage or do stakeholders engagement to know the role of the government, the role of me as an individual, as an entrepreneur, the role of your neighbor, the role of those that are at the receiving end of your interventions and all of that. And that is the only way we will continue to move forward. It might sound challenging, but then it's one way that we have to continue to drive this. If we don't continue to advocate for the enabling environment you need for your business, you're not going anywhere. Again, somebody spoke about the risk mitigation or risk mapping, and there are various mitigation strategies for risk, right? Some of us are professionals in the field of project design and creation and all that. And we often know by book knowledge that there are various ways of transferring your risk. Either you can avoid your risk, you can transfer, you can accept, or you can, manage some of these. And that comes in very strongly that at the point of going into any business, you have to be very much aware of the environment in which you operate. You have to be able to draw or do your value chain mapping. If you're going into agriculture, you have to do your value chain mapping. You have to do your ecosystem analysis. You need to know the effects and cause around you. Like, you need to know who is responsible for what. So you need to have also factored in some of those challenges, that the pilfering will take place, that security challenges will take place. But how best do you mitigate some of these challenges? Above all, advocacy is surely the way to go. And I'm very glad that a revolution is already up. Well, I'm not advocating that we should overthrow our government. But then there are a lot of voices that we often hear now, creating a lot of advocacies. And that's the only way to make sure that your voice is heard. And then when you have an opportunity to present yourself, that you do not keep quiet, at least engage the government. We have a lot of government officials probably amongst us. We don't know. But then every time you speak up, and for every challenge you face and you rise above that challenge, then you're successful. That's what makes you an entrepreneur. That's what makes you stand out. I just thought I should drop that. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes, speaking. My name is Okoroa Kennedy. My question goes to Mrs. Oluyemisi Iranloye. I'm aware that 5 years ago that about 60% of the consumption, the 60% of the starch, industrial starch that are being consumed locally in Nigeria were imported. And I'm sure that you produce, you are one of the largest producers of industrial starch in Nigeria. The question I want to ask is, when you started producing, bridging that gap, did you face any were there challenges with your standard, meeting up the standard of the major buyers? Most of the multinationals that import industrial starch, did you have issue with your product meeting up their standard compared to the imported product? That's my question. Then the second question is, okay, so on that question, how did you deal with those challenges? That's number one. Number two is there any government regulation now that has mandated most of the multinationals that are the off-takers of this industrial starch to patronize most of the indigenous manufacturer? That's my question number two to you, ma'am. Then for Mr. Emeka, Oyeka, me to say, are you in any way involved in processing? And I mean, in the value chain of your agricultural dealings, are you involved in processing? If you are, can you share your experience with us? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. First of all, I will mention that when you are going into agriculture, you must know that you will meet challenges, but be determined that you will not allow those challenges to overwhelm you. Where I would have first of all turned back on this business was when I bought land of 1,000 hectares and I was eventually given 300. That was enough for me to run back. Don't forget, I had used 3 years to gather the money. And then I eventually came, they said no more land, only 300. Good. So there, you will meet those challenges. The ones you cannot, you will be determined from beginning to surmount them. You understand? These people are still the people we are giving power, water today. It's not as if we have not fought. We have had issues. But you also learn to put them behind you and move on. They are the same people today who protect us from kidnappers. They are the same people today who ensure that we are not overrun by bandits. So it's always a good turn deserve another kind of thing. So that's just to redress that. And she mentioned Modupe. Modupe actually was coming from my farm when she was kidnapped. But ask me where Modupe is today. She's still on the farm. Why? Because she has seen it that I could have even been kidnapped in Ibadan anyway. And then she's continued. Now she has more security, a whole lot of changing system. She became her own government. She's even doing much, much, much better than she was doing before. If she had run away, there would not be Akora farm today. But it's still there growing stronger because she has learned from her. God will always be there to take us out of those things. Now, do there make quality challenges? No. Because don't forget, I said I'm a biochemist. I'm a food biochemist. So when I was starting up, I had their, what we call C of A. That is their specification, what they wanted to buy. I gave it to the manufacturer of my equipment to say, I want to produce starch with this quality. So there's no gambling. I knew, like I said, I used 5 years to do my planning. So within that 5 years, some of the things I did is to ensure that who is my audience? Oh, I want to sell to Nestle. Then if it's Nestle, this is their quality. Mr. Manufacturer, this is what I want to produce. And because I am knowledgeable in that line, I knew that I have to go from here to here. I have to put this to prevent this and all of that. So from beginning, we had the right kind of quality to enter the market. Yes, a lot of people have problems with quality today, but we didn't have that problem. But they are also there to help you if you have those problems. Now, regulatory policies to control importation. In fact, what comes into the country is more than 60%. Can be as high as 70, 80 sometimes. We are just scratching the surface in terms of what we produce. But the good thing is what we produce locally is better than what they import. So when we started the struggle, it was difficult to get the multinationals to switch because then importing was cheaper than when we were producing locally. So we continued to press to say, no, you use our own. If you use our own, I knew ours was fresher. I knew ours had short shelf life. The start they were buying had some of them 10 years. Well, they just change the manufacturer's date and expiry date. We know all the tricks that they do. So we started the struggle of try our own. And then eventually when they started buying from us, they saw that ours was fresher. They actually even get more cuts. There's more volume from using tapioca starch, that is cassava starch, than using corn starch, that is the competing product. So they started buying more. Then we started lobbying government to increase tariff of the imported starch. So if you read your papers very well, last year, every product from every form of starch and starch derivative, they increased the tariff one. They also removed it from the list of products that we get forex from CBN. You can go and check it, it's there. So it's part of the silent advocacy that we are doing in the industry. So today, if you want to compete, by the time they are paid, they are not getting dollars, so they are buying from black market. We have marked up. Then instead of 5%, maybe they are paying 15% duty. So we are able to compete somehow with the imported products. Now, the multinationals also have this thing they call local content percentage. They are mandated to buy a certain percent of their raw material locally. So that also ties their hand, you understand, to buy some things locally. So we are still struggling to get more. Where we are going is actually to ban importation of any product from cassava. We are just one step away from it. We'll surely get there.
We can only take one more question because of time. And the question, he had his hand up immediately. No, sorry. Before he asked this question, his hand was already up. Sorry? All right, the two questions. Okay. Let's take him. All right, take him.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fortune, and I want to say a very big thank you to our speakers. My question goes to Mr. Onyeka. I used to work with Uber as a driver, and when I left them, I started teaching. Then a few years ago, like 2 years ago, I started a business, and I currently have about 4 staff myself, making them the 5th person. Thank you very much. Thank you. So we actually read out some financial services to people, and I did the research within my environment, the local government where we have our business, and I found out that we have more than 1,000 people that do the same thing we do. And when I was in my thinking room, because what we do basically is that we use normal traditional method or conventional method, where we expect customers to come to us for us to render services to them. Then when I was thinking, I realized that what Uber actually did, because I was their driver before, was that they were able to push those yellow cab out of the market because they basically provided some things that those people could not do. First of all, in those days, you used to leave your house to the particular place when those yellow buses were. That was stress to some people, and they were not able to provide some certain level of security to those people, but Uber was able to beat that as well, because you find out that you sit at the comfort of your home, you just connect with them, the driver comes to your house and picks you from the house. Then as you go with the driver, your movement can also be monitored. Then basically, I was able to come up with a strategy in order for me to be able to eliminate some of the competitors from the markets. And I took some of my staff and we went to the street and we started knocking on people's doors, trying to collect their quotas, so that anytime they want someone to offer financial services to them, they won't have to leave their houses. All they just need to do is either to WhatsApp us or to call us. They will come to their houses to offer the services to them. And the first week we went out, I think we just 1 week, we were able to get more than 1,000 people, customers who actually believe in what we do. The challenge we had was that basically Ford.
Sorry, can you go to the question? Yeah.
Okay, this is the question. We actually have issue with the Ford, ability to meet their needs. Ability to meet their needs, because I listened to you when you were speaking. You said you were able to raise $100,000 within 2 hours. I'm not actually asking you to invest in our business, but I just want to know if you can mentor me, because I believe there are things you know that I don't know, if you could do that. Then secondly and lastly, I know that there might be investors in this place. And you said when you were going out to take coffee, somebody walked up to you and wanted to invest. Please, you don't need to walk up to me. Just maybe at the end of the program, you just raise your hand. I will come to where you are, sir. Because the customers are beginning to think that we are not competent enough to meet their need, but they don't know that it is actually the Ford that is the challenge we're having. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now I kind of feel glad I allowed him take the question.
So you spent 70% of the time pitching your business. So I don't even know if there was really a question, but I think
It was like, the question was, will you
the
mentor
challenge.
me?
So you pitched to me. So speaking about mentoring, I've tried to set up a small academy to mentor people. So I can send you the URL to join. But coming into your business model, that if you're having a challenge of meeting your customers' need, then maybe there's a fault on how you actually even designed the model in the first place. And that's why it's very key. Sultry started small. Farm Crowd started small. And you take it from a small place, you understand your risk, and then you gradually, you scale it. I had a means, so I understand marketing, I understand technology. If I opened up my channel from maybe by the third month to say I wanted to raise all the money I wanted to raise, I would have gotten it. But who would be the farmer I work with? How much lessons had I gotten from the farm that I was ready to take on that challenge? It wasn't enough. So as much as I say yes, I mean, imagine me telling you, we raised $100,000 in 5 minutes, we did $1 million in 24 hours. We could have as well, if I say I did $1 million in 24 hours, if I was doing that for a year, how much would I have raised? $365 million. But in my slide, I showed you that we only raised $15 million in 4 years. It was on purpose. We bite only as much as we can chew. We don't take so much. So even if people, I had people clamoring, and that was why even it created a demand of scarcity in the system. We will only run a project because we have the farm and we have the means to sell that project. When we're done, everything has been put in place, and we can only accommodate 5,000 farmers at this time. So we will only open our channel to raise for only working with 5,000 farmers and nothing more. So that when I get that money, I can make a good case for myself and my team and investors that you gave us this money, this is the result we got. Tomorrow, we can take it from 5,000 to 10,000. We won't take it from 5,000 to 100,000. I was under that pressure. I had people that came to me with millions of dollars and said, "Oh yeah, take the money. Why you?" Somebody was one guy that was saying, "Why are you taking money from 1, 2, 3 people? You're taking 1,000 here. You're taking $500 here. Come and take 20 million." I went to a meeting. They told me $20 million stake. I don't have market for that. It's greed that will make me take that, and then I hook myself. Reputation will be at stake. I cannot meet up with the demand. My business is ruined. So you take it step by step and you grow. Every step of your growth process, there's a challenge you deal with that gives you the muscle to move on. Do you understand? So I think, and it's good, important you say that, so it applies to every other entrepreneur. Don't, even if you see that all of a sudden, you can now take on a 100 million naira project. But all you've done before that 100 million naira project is 5 million naira. Please, take it step by step. Step by step. Move from 5 to, the challenge in 20 million is different from the challenge of 100 million. The kind of investor that will give you 100 million is not the one that will be disturbing you on Twitter because he gave you 500,000 naira. That one will use EFCC and lock you up. Twitter will only fight you on social media. So step by step, build your muscle and grow. Enjoy the process. Eventually, you will get to that place where you will succeed, you'll be happy, you have a sustainable business. I'm talking today, I've been checking the time. I have meetings. I say I run 2 companies, Plenty Waka and Farm Crowdy. The bosses are running. Today alone, maybe 2,000, 3,000 people will running. But I have a structure in place. That's why I can be here. If not, I would have run out since. But there are people that are helping me to work at, and it didn't start from that day one. It took us a process. Now we have 200 bosses. When I say I said we started with 20. In 18 months, we have 200. It's gradually. We're taking it step by step by step. Enjoy the process. Build structures. Then you go for those big tickets. But we can talk more later.
So we have one last question. But for your question, I think you need to speak to him. He runs, he's part of OPay, and if you can meet their standards to partner with them, you would have built your company structure a lot more. Because what I hear is you're into distribution, but there is an issue with managing the distribution flow. If you can meet their standards, then you would have built some work around your business. So talk to him. Sir.
Good afternoon, panelists. My name is Prince Okejo, Honor Callis of the Raboni Barristers and Solicitors. We're legal consultants, but for the purposes of this audience, we drop consultants, we'll give you transactional advice. My questions, all you have raised, none of you talked about insurance. That's my observation, because when the Reverend mentioned that he went to the farm and he was checked the well, if that business had been insured, perhaps he could have paid for it. My observation is that we don't utilize effectively place of insurance in our businesses. That's one. The areas I want you to look at, we have been talking about mechanized farming. We are not looking at subsistence farming that we carry on people who don't have the muscle to go into mechanized farming. And it's a question that came up last time I was in the East. And I was discussing with a professor of crop science about how to carry on family subsistence farming without going into mechanized system of farming. And we took a look at the example of China. Now, in a family in the olden days or some years back, 20 years back, my grandmother used to have chicken, 20, maybe 4 goats, 5 goats. But those things are no longer in existence because people have looked away from the subsistence system of rearing those animals into a bigger ranch when we don't have the capacity and the competence to do it. So I want to ask them, how can we go back? Like China, there's a transition between subsistence to mechanized, but they still retain the rural farmers who have 4 goats, 20 cows, 20 chickens. What happens? At the end of the day, when they are on economic low, they can sell 1 chicken to raise money. But instead of us emphasizing on mechanized system, when we left where people can reasonably raise in their homes and still be in business. So my question, why are we not emphasizing on what we have instead of looking for a bigger one when we don't have the capacity and to go about it? That's my question.
Answer the insurance part, because he mentioned insurance earlier, especially around the fact that your first, was it birds? You lost 300 and you later learned about insurance.
So we eventually approached an insurance company and started talking about agric insurance because people didn't know that it existed at that time, or it existed and people thought it was theory. And so we started applying that into our model and started making sure we got cover for our farmers. We then learned about NISAL's cover that could come into place. We learned about that there were other forms of insurance that we could coin and craft into agric insurance. So we're the first firm to start popularizing agric insurance. So we did that successfully, and it started protecting our farms. We had a situation where in Kwara State, the dam broke from flooding, and we had a 5,000 acres rice farm that cut across 13 different villages. But when that dam broke, it's flooded the entire place. Insurance saved us in that project. And so the thing is about doing your research and then planning beforehand. We make sure insurance is in place, it's factored into the capital cost. Insurance is now available with almost every insurance company in Nigeria. They offer agric insurance now. At that time, it was only one that was doing it. Today, we've now created a business to offer insurance to people in the food value chain. So if you're currently a farmer and you're looking at getting insurance, you can also sign up on the Farm Crowding Network and have access to that. We're doing that in Nigeria, we're doing that in East Africa, and we're doing that in the Caribbean at the moment. In the Caribbean, we're working with the biggest insurance company there to offer the same. In East Africa, we're working with one of the biggest insurance companies here. In Nigeria, we're working with two of the biggest insurance companies to offer insurance for people in the value chain, in the agriculture value chain. So that is available, and now anyone can access that on the network.
But Moses wanted to.
So I said that I'm not.
The bottom.
I said I'm not into. So I'm from Benue State. So I'm from Agatu. That means the proper people that do farming, Benue State. So just to answer you, people still do subsistence farming there. So with all the Fulani kind of stuff, they do it massively. Just to answer you, my wife is from Iseyin, so that means for her, my in-laws are from Iseyin, so Yoruba, and so I go to Iseyin. They still do subsistence farming. Thirdly, my wife is an insurance broker, so I understand the benefits of insurance. So my laptop could fall down and break. I have household insurance to cover. Just to answer you that, I know Onyeka talked about insurance, which is reiterated. And secondly, to tell you that subsistence farming still happens. The old stuff they are talking about here is saying he creates a platform that enables people, whether it's subsistence, mechanized farming, for them to be able to get money. For me, who cannot go to the village to farm, if I put my money in Farm Crowdy, I'm happy because Agri-Kids happening, because Onyeka is giving money to small people, whether big or small, to do farming. For her, she's doing subsistence farming. So she talked about the people who parents are dead, they come to allow them. It's not like it's tractor, it's not a Obasanjo kind of farm. Just to say that those things were said. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much for your question. I wanted to add that insurance has become a very broad topic of discussion. And even when we engage in training agripreneurs and entrepreneurs, it's part of the cost model that we emphasize, because you don't want to run into business and then run into crisis. But we learned for some of our own mistakes. So you can share some of it. Some of our entrepreneurs invested very huge money in developing a retail outlet with thatch roof and all of that. And once one of the workers was working with the welding machine and then burnt down the whole structure, their whole investment went out. But if they had insurance, they would have. So based on some of these experiences from some of our entrepreneurs within the IIT network, it's a given. You have to include insurance. Even in your business plan, we ask you to factor that in so that you know when you're talking to the bank, you also convince the bank that, okay, if these investments go wrong, I have XYZ strategy in place to go over it. In terms of subsistence and mechanized farming, yes, we promote a lot of mechanized farming because to meet the volume that is required, you have to do business in an unusual way. And doing subsistence farming might not take you to the level that you want. However, we hear a lot of innovations now around which farmers come together. I mean, as you crowdfund money, so you crowdfund outputs or agricultural output. So maybe Sultry wants to buy off 1,000 tons of cassava, and I know I cannot produce it alone. I work with 1,000 farmers on 1 hectare to aggregate and then sell off to Sultry, because Sultry does not want to have to deal with one farmers. They need a system of outgrowers, and that's where subsistence farming could fit in along the line. But more ideally, we should think big, and we're trying to revolutionalize the agricultural sector. We cannot be talking about farmers with 0.1 hectares. They are relevant in the sector, don't get me wrong, but then to reach or to have that economies of scale, then we need to come together and target a particular market and get the right returns that are required. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want you to put your hands together for our panelists. Before they come down, I would like to ask, sir, would like to have you take a picture with them before they come down. Please put your hands together for him as he comes up. All right, do we have a good picture? Yes. Aha. Are we good? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for them as they come down. We'd like to thank our awesome panelists for sharing their wealth of knowledge today. I'm sure that if you are in the value chain in any way at Greek, you would have had 1 or 2 pointers today. One of the things I've realized about technology is that while, of course, business is hard, technology makes everything possible, even if you don't know how to do it. So you can use technology to build houses without actually knowing how to build a house. You can use technology to aggregate farm produce without knowing how to farm. There's so many places to enter into the entire value chain. It's not just one place. Even if you were to physically engage, agriculture is so wide, from refrigeration to storage to, we don't have enough storage as a country, talk less of individual states. So there's too many places you can plug in as an agric farmer or an agric entrepreneur. So I want to thank our panelists once again for joining us today. So I would like to call Reverend Raphael Ikedua to give the vote of thanks. Please put your hands together for him as he comes.
Put your hands together for them, and with a standing ovation for all our speakers, a standing ovation for all our speakers. What a wonderful moment. Please have your seat. Please have your seat. I want to start by giving a special thanks to our father, Dr. Sam Namaga, for creating this platform that is culminating into destiny molding and transformation. Please put your hands together for our father. Put your hands together for our father. A million thanks to Right Reverend Inobongete for unquestionable intentionalities in your visionary mandate pursuit. We put your hands together for the bishop. Unquestionable pursuit for this visionary mandate to make sure destinies are transformed. Please put your hands again for him. It says something that when he created a wealth creation department, and we call it a hub of destiny transformation. A total transformation, that is what he put together. People that are intellectually powered, people who are doing exploit, and people who are transforming system. And in one of his presentations when he charged us, during the pandemic time, from one of his charges, I decided to do one exploit somewhere. I was invited by West African Trade Hub to do a concept document for Nigerians. When it was identified that we are going to have up to 40 million people going hunger after this pandemic in Nigeria and West Africa. And I was consulted to come up with a concept document to put together. And we did that document, and a grant of $2 million was approved. But we refused to activate that grant. Why? Because of the insecurity that we have been talking about. That project was to take place in Sokoto State. And even till today, they're still calling me to come and activate the grant. I told them, no, I'm not coming because of the insecurity. So put hands together for the bishop, for the great work he's doing. Put your hands together for Dr. Ituranya Sangiga for this wonderful presentation that was done by Evelyn Ohausi. Put your hands together for her. The packaging, the arrangement of this team of people that came to make presentation was very intentional. Was very intentional because we are going to get back to them for institutional collaboration. We want to tweak what we are doing in agri-eco system to participate fully through the wealth creation department of the church. So we are going to explore them more. Please put your hands together again for Dr. Inturanya Sangiga. Then put your hands together for Onyeka Akuma for his wonderful ideas. Wonderful. He is doing exploits. He is doing exploits in his exploit section, and he is doing exploits. Please put your hands together for Onyeka. He's a great man, great man, great man, great man, great man. Bishop, there was a time I told you one of my friends did aggregation. He did aggregation for him. Chike, you know Chike? Chike is my friend. We were together in Stanford at Transformation, where we used Madame's company as a case study in Stanford and California. We used our company as a case study. Madam Oluyemisi, please put your hands together for her. She's doing great. Actually came in contact with her, and when we went for Stanford Seed Transformation Program, that was where we used her company as a case study in California. That was where I got in contact with her first. Please put your hands together. These are great men and great women that are doing exploit. We are going to get back. You see, we have great youth that have brain. They can do things. We're going to intentionally request for institutional collaboration with the AITA people for training, and we're going to have a lot of training for our youth, so we're going to collaborate with you. Good thing we have been looking for this training, and good thing you are here, so we have you firsthand. It's not through telephone and any other thing, so we are going to collaborate. Thank you. And again, in this wet season, we are going to come back to the team, Madam Oluyemisi and Onyeka. We are going to come back to you to see how we can collaborate with you to do stuff in this wet season, before the wet season is over. It's going to be intentional, and we plan this program that we want to be as practical as possible, that we have spoken the grammar enough. We want to bring people that their hands are on the job. So we went sniffing and sniff great men and women like people are for this program. And we are going to collaborate with you more to do greater things. Please, standing ovation for every one of you that have spent, make our time to be here this morning. And we have the great man here, Moses Zule, that is doing stuff in, what's it called? OPEC system and funding. I think you know more of funding and all of that stuff. Thank you, Moses Zule, for coming. Tunji, the great MC, your voice is so, you have such a baritone voice that when you are speaking, everybody knows that Tunji is talking. And we are glad having you. So we would like to have you again and again. We have a representative of the government that is seated. You are highly welcome, sir. We appreciate you are coming. We were actually expecting to see your Oga, but you are here. We wanted to know what Lagos State have in stock for us. That was why we are looking for him. In this meeting, we are not in theories, we are in practicals. So we are looking for somebody that will help us solve practical problems. So please go back and tell him that he should come back and tell us what Lagos State has for the youth and the land he has for farming. We want to go into farming and we need to collaborate with Lagos State. Put your hands together for them. Please, standing ovation for every one of you for your time. 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 It was a great moment. Thank you for coming. I would like to see you once again as I welcome the bishop to come and round up the program.
Thank you so much, Reverend Raphael Ikedwa. Let's put our hands together for him. I am always proud to say that there are certain people that will walk around you, and whatever vision that you have, whatever project, whatever task you have them to interpret it, you have them to execute it. And that's what we are doing in Lagos. And I'm so proud of all the leaders that God has surrounded us with. Please, because of compliance with COVID-19 protocols, your refreshments is served you in parks, apart from the speakers who will join me to the office. And because we